How's it going, guys? Welcome to the very first session of Adventures in Middle-earth. So this is a D&D 5e campaign that was made back in, the late 2010s. So like 20, I believe it was 2016 all the way until it actually unfortunately got canceled in, I believe, 2019 or 2020. And it is now actually kind of the preceded the second edition of the One Ring, which again is a D&D 5e campaign. But this is set in the world of Middle-earth and J.R. Tolkien. And so we actually have, before we start and get the entire party together, we have a bunch of players. So we have a total of 4 players, and we're going to go ahead and introduce each of them throughout the rest of this month and in the very first day of March, as so we can kind of get to know a one-shot of each, person that we have during this party in Adventures of Middle-earth. And we've been wanting to do this campaign for quite a bit. And it's been, kind of a lot of excitement and honestly for me, kind of years in the making of not only assembling a party to do this that's regularly wanting to do it, but, just finding a good time as far as what's going on. But I am Kyle. I am the lore master, which is the DM in this world. And I will be leading and guiding the rest of the party through this adventure in Middle-earth. And I'm really excited. So kind of a little bit of backstory about this campaign before we introduce our one player for today. This takes place 5 years after the death of Smaug and the Battle of the Five Armies. And so it takes place in the years between Adventures of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And so it's a really interesting time in Middle-earth, particularly because it's this kind of, especially at the beginning, this sense of, Wilderland itself is starting to unite and become safe again. For a long time, it had been incredibly dangerous with the influence of the necromancer at Dol Guldur, with all kinds of, wicked orcs, goblins, and everything all through Mirkwood and the Misty Mountains. And after the Battle of the Five Armies, the vast majority of those orcs had either fled into hiding or were slain actually in the battle. And so this is really one of the first periods in a very long time in Middle-earth where there is relative peace, which is a perfect way to begin kind of a campaign setting in Middle-earth, right before the War of the One Ring, and all of that shenanigans starts happening in the world. And so let's go ahead and introduce our player, to which we have here on the screen. What you can see right now is his little character sprite. As you can see, he is an elf, and his name is Valineth, and he is played by Dain, who is now revealed, Mr. Forged himself.
Hello guys, how's it going? I hope you all are absolutely amazing, and like Kyle, I'm so freaking excited to start this campaign. We've been looking so long and so far and wide to find a party to actually be able to make this come to fruition, as Kyle said. And as Kyle said as well, I am one of the player characters. My name is Valineth. I am a high elf from the city of Rivendell, of the ripe, spry young age of 777 years old, which for an elf, that's quite young. And I am really excited about this adventure that I'm going to be put on. I'm excited to reveal some things about my backstory, and I'm also excited to see where today's adventure takes me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one thing that's really interesting when we were going through kind of the character making process is just figuring out, backstories and what is going on. And, one of the difficulties that I tend to see in a lot of D&D groups is, what's a realistic way of getting the party together? Like seemingly strangers from all over, like, for example, here, Middle-earth. And so that's kind of what these one-shots are for. For the next 4 weeks, we're going to be showing, the events leading up to the party themselves and meeting. And it'll be hopefully a lot of fun and really interesting, in a way for the players to, kind of develop their own personality outside of the party themselves and relying on that. So it should be really good. And ultimately, I'm pretty pumped. One thing to note, however, so in this campaign of Adventures in Middle-earth, it is a D&D 5e supplement game. However, there are a few different kinds of rules that are in play compared to regular D&D. A lot of the playing mechanics might not make a lot of sense to people who are pretty new with this series and the One Ring series. And essentially, it's split into three kind of phases of the game. The first phase is going to be the fellowship. So every adventurer needs a period of rest. And you'll notice throughout the entirety of this campaign that the campaign takes place over years and years. And there's like each adventure that the characters go on. They go about on 1 to 2 adventures per year. And the rest of the time is spent during the fellowship phase. So it's kind of the stuff that they're doing outside of just partying and adventuring together, whether they're unlocking sanctuaries, whether they're making patrons of, from like Beorn, for example, or like Radagast, some people like that, very famous, well-known characters. And by doing those, they can unlock the ability to take long rests while on the road while entering these places. They get additional effects. This is a campaign that is very low magic. And so the vast majority of the combat is going to be weapon-based combat. And that the adventure, basically the undertakings that they can take during the fellowship phase there are ways to unlock new skills and, maybe improve a little bit as far as like going shopping, healing up, figuring out a little bit more of their backstory and, just like I said, unlocking patrons and sanctuaries. And then the second phase is the party all gets together and they map out what they're going to do and what adventure they're going on based off of what's happening during this phase. And something that's really super exciting about that is the journey itself is really dependent on what happens on the road. I feel like in D&D that often gets skipped over. And in this Adventures in Middle-earth, that's not the case. A lot of the game itself is the journey to where you're going. And so the party will be experiencing that, encountering evil villains along the way, encountering good people along the way too, and building bonds and, forging their way towards saving Middle-earth from, I guess we'll see what perils await here in Middle-earth. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Yes, hello, fellow token lovers. Thank you so much for those who have joined us. It's, I don't care how big the room is. I cast Fireball. Yeah, fortunately, that doesn't exist in this game. Thank the heavens. Thank goodness.
I do want to say one thing before we do get into this. So for those of my regulars, which we're seeing a lot of regulars popping up in chat right now. So how the D&D and tabletop RPGs typically are, it's kind of going to be like a movie in a sense. So be as talkative, be as wonderful and chatty as much as you can possibly be in chat. I'll still be there like gazing at things, but unfortunately during the actual stream itself, we won't really be able to acknowledge you guys, if that makes sense, just because it is a story. We're telling a story first and foremost, and so it's going to be a little bit different than our normal streams that we normally do. However, still feel free to chat again and treat it like a movie night. Treat it like one of those things. We're also going to be making lots of really fun commands to be able to put in, to be able to interact in chat itself. But yeah, things should be good. And guys, enjoy. I'm really looking forward to it. And all of you guys who are in chat right now, thank you for stopping by. We do Everlast every second and third Saturday of every month. But for a lot of the audience that we normally have during this stream time, they don't actually get to see us do tabletop RPGs. Kyle, isn't that crazy? So
yeah, it's
this is
crazy.
the kind of we've been doing it for months and months and months, but this is
like a year basically.
Yeah, our first experience with my normal stream group. So guys, enjoy. It should be a great time.
Absolutely. And we're happy that all of you are enjoying, and sit back and relax and watch, the adventures of Middle-earth unfold. So let's kind of take a couple steps back here. We're entering into, a world, a relatively peaceful Middle-earth. We have this character, Valineth, who has made his way throughout the lands of Middle-earth, originating in Rivendell, making his way east across the mountains into Wilderland itself. He has answers that need to be, addressed, and answers that he's looking for. He's been spending a couple of years doing so, and as he began his journey, this was right at the conclusion of the Battle of the Five Armies. So word, when he first departed Rivendell, had not quite reached the ears that, the great dragon had fallen. Word had not quite reached Rivendell as well, that, the orcs and goblins have been scattered, and Wilderland itself is finally becoming free and reclaimed. And so Valineth, making his way across the Misty Mountains, is experiencing a brand new look at Wilderland, as it were. And noticing that while, yes, Wilderland is very sparsely populated, the people that he has visited, whether they're elves, whether they're humans, whether they're the Beornings, they all have this general sense of hope leading to something. So without further ado, Valineth, why don't you go ahead and discuss some of your backstory? What has Valineth been doing in this time, and what are his goals?
Yeah. So as I had previously stated, I am a elf of the spry young age of 777 years. Without going too much into my backstory, because I don't want to give too much away, I am the son of a warrior high elf. So one of the warriors of the Rivendell army who goes out on patrol around Rivendell. And my father is someone who I absolutely look up to, and I have always looked up to him. I haven't been like super big, super strong in stature. Most elves aren't. And I haven't necessarily been trained aside from the normal training that a normal elf would undertake in his time. But where I lacked, in a sense, in the physical capability that my father had, I wanted to do my best to live vicariously through the stories that he told me. And so I took my studies incredibly seriously. Cartography was something that I absolutely adored, and so I'm very knowledgeable about all of the surrounding areas of Middle Earth, especially northern Middle Earth. Yes, I'm young for an elf, but I've had 777 years of experience to be able to look around. I've explored most of northern Middle Earth. However, I have not been past Mirkwood itself. So I've visited Wilderland a few times. However, never into Mirkwood, never past Mirkwood, and yeah, I'm searching for answers. So without getting into too much detail about it, my father himself has gone missing. And so my adventure and what gets me off my keister and leaving Rivendell from my studies of living vicariously through him is trying to discover the answers for finding my father, who has disappeared so seemingly for years and years. And so in the time that Kyle's talking about, my character has set off an adventure to try to find answers about my father's disappearance.
Absolutely. And being a scholarly individual, Valineth has also taken the time to, study the cultures and study the people and get to form bonds with the people that are around, especially in Wilderland. He's made all his way all the way down to the golden wood of Lothlorien, and has had counsel with Lady Galadriel. He's made his way through Roscabel, unfortunately unable to quite contact the very slippery Radagast himself, but he has introduced himself to some of the woodmen, whether it's in Mountain Hall or Woodman Town. He has made his way up through to Beorn's house, to which, with some apprehension and, some, very protective Beornings at his side, doesn't really have too much answers of, what Valineth is looking for. Rumor has had it, however, by Lady Galadriel, that there was a group of Rivendell knights that had made their way chasing goblins up north towards the Forest Gate. So the Forest Gate is going to be at the very northern kind of tip of Mirkwood, and that's where the elf path leads. And so Valineth, kind of braving himself up and, keeping his bow close at hand and his trusty dagger, he has ducked under the boughs of the forest of Mirkwood. Throughout his travels through this forest, he experienced, so many things, such as hallucinations, such as, just long days of walking and wandering. Being from Rivendell, this very homely place, going into the boughs of Mirkwood is something that even on the elf path is very daunting to someone like him, and especially traveling upon this alone. Fortunately, he had plenty of elvish way bread, lembas bread, with him to carry him through, and knowing at the very end of his long journey, he will be greeted by his kins, Thranduil, king of the Woodland Realm. And upon making his way about a week through, just, slow pace, venturing through the Greenwood, he stumbled upon the halls, to which he was greeted with open arms by Thranduil, his son Legolas, Prince of Mirkwood, and all of the elves that do currently reside there. And something that is quite interesting is how open-hearted they are to the people west of Mirkwood. And so with that, Valineth asks about this, troop of Rivendell knights. What exactly happened to them? And unfortunately, not able to give a lot of answers, Thranduil himself sends him to the Long Lake. He sends him to the rebuilt Lake Town, which is the center of trade in all of North and all of Middle Earth, hoping to seek answers. And so with that, Valineth finds himself inside the beautiful, beautiful rebuilt town of Esgaroth. And so Valineth, he enters in under this enormous gate, and being an elf and proud in stature, not many people actually take a glance at him, as some of the other inhabitants of Wilderland have done in recent years, during his travels. Fortunately for him, there are quite a few elves, particularly Mirkwood elves, that make their way doing trade in and out. In fact, there's actually a part of the city of Esgaroth that is dedicated to the elves here at this point. And so he's able to kind of converse with them a little bit. And, the first thing that he thinks to himself is, where would I be if I was looking for answers? And of course, that would be the center of town, right in the main center of the marketplace. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it out to you.
So the first thing I'm thinking, so obviously I'm looking for Rivendell elves. So the first thing that comes across his mind, since he had just had audience with King Thranduil and his family and his cohorts, I'm going to be seeking out any sort of warrior-esque type of elf. It doesn't have to be, obviously Rivendell would be great, but it could be any sort of some sort of adventuring kind of elf. If I can't find any elves, maybe men who look like they've traveled far, they've been about. Basically, I'm not going to be talking with any just like normal citizenry, if that makes sense.
So kind of ignoring the locals, and that's actually relatively easy. Mostly because everybody keeps to their own districts for the most part. So upon going through and kind of just walking through this interesting city, some of the sights that you see is it's pretty much all elevated on wooden walkways. And there are different actually districts that, bridges lead to within the city. And at the very center is kind of the really high end, back when Smaug came and tried to completely burn down the entirety of Lake Town. This is actually the one section that survived and where, the master's home lives or is currently resides. And so it was built with, thicker stilts. Some of the furnishings and everything were a little bit more fireproof, and actually does a really good job of keeping out the wetness too.
Speaking of which, do we know what time of year it is?
Yes.
In particular? Okay.
So it is currently the very beginning of November, and there is quite a bit of hustle and bustle that's going through Esgaroth right now, as everybody preps to make their way to Dale at the end of the month. Because at the end of the month, there is a 5-year celebration of the defeat of Smaug and the conclusion of the Battle of the Five Armies. And this is going to be the very first celebration since that has happened, where everybody in Wilderland has been able to get together. Not only has Esgaroth been recently rebuilt, but the dwarves of Erabor have begun to resettle in the Lonely Mountain, and they have started making trade with those of Dale, and Dale has erected to become this really kind of superpower in this area. The Iron Hills is still being led by King Dain's younger son. And there's all kinds of shenanigans that's going around, and, people are generally pretty jolly and pretty happy. And so as of now, people are really preparing, sending stuff to and from Dale to really prepare for the celebration. You make your way into, and it's starting to get pretty chilly, so much to the point where you've got your kind of cloak and everything kind of over the top of you, and you are not quite as dressed for the weather as you want. And so it is a little bit chilly, especially being right out in the middle of the lake. So you've found your way to the Merchants District, and in order to do that, you actually have to make your way through this giant gatehouse. And as you're looking for warriors and that kind of stuff, you actually notice that there are quite a few highly decorated guards that stand, obviously, guard of this town. and they are holding up spears, and they have a beautifully kind of like chain linked mail for their armor, very well prepared and well crafted. And they are, as I had mentioned, kind of looking out, but they don't really give you a second glance. They tend to trust the elves that are coming from the woodland realm, even if you do look a little bit different. You definitely have this kind of regal bearing to you as well. And so you can try to talk to some of the guards, but they are, again, kind of local citizenry. You can tell they probably don't do a ton of traveling, but they do talk with some of the people. You've made your way also through the Elven district at this point too, and so there's a number of elves that you've seen. A lot of them do look like bargemen and traders, which could be good, and very few warriors actually of the elves, however.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, Valineth, seeing these warriors, he's gonna kind of being a little bit self-conscious of the fact that he's not known for being a warrior himself. He's more of like the scholarly type, but he's had to kind of fend for himself for these last few years that he's been out and about. He kind of like straightens up a little bit and like tries to make himself a little bit taller. He's pretty tall for an elf, but like a little bit taller than he would normally be. And tries to walk with like an air of importance to him, but also friendliness. And a little bit of curiosity. He can't help but take in his surroundings. In particular, he's never been on the lake before. Obviously, he's never been past Mirkwood. This is his first time past Mirkwood. Can he see any of can he see the Lonely Mountain, Erabor in the background, or is it?
Absolutely. So the Lonely Mountain, especially this far east, really rises above. It is like the skyline. It pretty much takes over completely.
So I guess where I was going with that, he, even though he's trying to hold himself with an air of sophistication and like he knows what he's doing, he can't help but feel like in awe of like the area he's in. So he tries to hide it, but he definitely seems like a tourist, I guess, if that makes sense. Like he's walking with purpose, but he seems like a tourist, and he's just looking. He's looking for anyone who'd be willing to talk. So are there any people out and about necessarily who seem to be friendly enough to talk, as far as like whether they've been traveled, even if they're merchants, warriors, that kind of stuff? He just wants to like start talking to someone, so he's going to try to decipher who to go up to.
Absolutely. Go ahead and make an insight skill check for me.
First roll, guys. I'm so excited. Insight. All right. Gosh, I'm so excited. Oh yeah. Well, we're starting off hot. That is a 7. Yeah.
7? Okay.
Yeah.
You, again, I think the fact with like this giant mountain looming over the top of you, and then also just the general busyness, you're actually finding it very difficult to track any individual down. And compared to your home of Imladris, you are, you know, it's a little bit busy for your like, and actually throughout your entirety travels, like I had mentioned before, Wilderland is a relatively barren, and so you've pretty much been by yourself, and so it's quite overwhelming being in this. And so unfortunately you aren't able to track anyone down specific that looks like that they're willing to talk. However, there are a number of people and like some kids that have like come up to you and are like staring up at you like, oh
Okay.
my gosh. And so like you are standing out at this point.
Valineth looks down at the children, and he just gives them a smile, and he's just like, "Why, hello, young ones. Do you happen to know where your parents may be?" Kind of awkward, not really knowing how to interact with little kids, especially human kids.
They look up to you, and they're just like, their faces like kind of go from like awe to like and then they just like start like cracking up and laughing, and they're just like, "Parents, why do you want our parents? We spent all day trying to get away from them. We're not going back. You're not gonna make us." And they go running away.
And Valineth sighs to himself, and he's just like, "Ah, the youth, I will never understand them fully." He just continues to walk on, laughing, chuckling to himself a little bit. I guess he's just gonna approach the first, I guess, unbusy looking maybe tradesman that he can see, especially since it's in a merchant type area.
Mm-hmm. So you've made your way over to the merchant's quarters, and yeah, there's a lot of business deals going around. It's actually very close to where the docks are as well. But there definitely are a few kind of sailor-looking folks who have, they're tying up their boats, and it looks like they had just finished unloading or loading stuff onto their ships for maybe departure in like the next day or two. There's two gentlemen in particular that look, I guess, relatively unbusy.
Okay. Valineth approaches, again, trying to put on an air of confidence about him as much as he possibly can. He clears his throat. Why, excuse me, fine gentlemen, good morrow to you. Do you happen to be tradesmen from this town? Very obvious questions, obviously, but he's doing his best. He is doing his best.
Sorry, guys, I messed up a little bit the overlay here.
It's fine. It's all good. We are good.
Oh yeah, Vorpal board. Okay. They look you up and down, and they're just like, "Oi, you're not from around here, are you?"
Why, that is quite astute of you. I am not. I am actually from west of the Misty Mountains themselves. I am from, how does the common tongue say? I'm from the city of Rivendell. Have you heard of it?
Oh, Rivendell. Aye, that's way far west. I've never been that far in all of my years. And then they think about it. Have we heard of Rivendell? I don't know, some kind of myths or something. We're actually traders from down at Selduin. It's a little bit south of this area. But is there anything that you are looking for in particular that we can help you with? We are relatively familiar with this area, but,
Well, I actually happen to be looking for some gentlemen who look actually quite like myself. There were a band of Rivendell soldiers, man in Rivendell armor, beautiful golds, beautiful, ready for war, who were seen going into Mirkwood. However, after audience with the king himself of Mirkwood, I have deduced that they have not made their way to the Woodland Kingdom. So I have made my way here to Lake Town, your beautiful Lake Town here, to see if I can get any information about my father's disappearance, this group of soldiers, I should say.
They both look at each other and are like, fancy elves in gold armor, huh? And then one of them actually elbows the other, and it's just like, maybe we've seen something. And then he holds out his palm and gives kind of the little universal sign here. Perhaps we'll be willing to talk a little bit more.
Valineth, not really knowing. Again, he's a man of the books. He's not a man as much outside of Rivendell. He knows cultures. He knows some mannerisms, but he's never seen this before. He's never been bribed. So he reaches out and gives him a nice, hearty handshake. He's just like, oh, well put, sir. Yes. I'm glad you're willing to help. And he grabs his hand and just shakes it firmly, kindly, and ready to make this deal happen.
Make a performance check for me.
No, why do I have to roll my performances early on? All right. I don't even know what was that. A 2? Oh, yeah, well, that's nice. It's gonna be bad. Performance plus 0. 2.
So 2. You reach out the hand and you shake his hand, and he's just like aghast, absolutely offended at what you're doing. He pulls his hand back, and you have this firm grasp on his hand. He's trying to rip it away, and he's just like, "Oi! Are you stupid or something?" And then one of them actually kind of, lifts up his robes and unsheathes or shows what looks to be the glint of a blade, some kind of knife. And he's just like, "Oi! Are you looking for trouble?"
Oh, excuse me, sir. I did not mean such a thing. I thought this was maybe a custom of Lake Town. Apologies. And he kind of
As mentioned before, we're from Selduin.
Sorry, Selduin. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with this part of the world. I haven't actually traveled here myself in my 777 years. And he just looks down at his feet and he's just like, oh gosh. This is so scary. He'd never thought he'd be getting into a situation with such friendly looking folk. And he looks at the man's hand. Is he still holding it out in a way?
No, he's like ripped it back, and then like the other guy again is like kind of starting to like holding a dagger and like kind of flashing a little bit. I'm gonna have you, while this is happening, make a perception check for me.
Oh my lord. Hey, I'm good at perception at least, so that's good. All right, let's see. How was that? Nat 20 with a +5. Let's go. Freaking sick.
Freaking sick. As this is happening, like you're looking around, like somebody like help me. I have no idea what's going on. And out of nowhere, there is a man, and he is dressed in what kind of looks to be guard's armor. And he's kind of walking, although you notice that he's using his spear. So he's got a large wood shield, and he's got a spear. He's got kind of like this like dinged up looking helmet compared to the ones that you saw when first entering the city. Definitely like kind of a step below. But he kind of starts walking towards you and hobbling and almost using like his spear as like somewhat of a walking stick. It's quite obvious that he is something is wrong with his leg, specifically his right leg. And so he's kind of using this spear to like lean on as he's walking. He doesn't look super old as far as men years go, probably somewhere in his probably late 40s. But he is walking and he's just like, hey now. And he kind of like glares at the two of them, and both of them kind of back up. And he says, are you bothering the visitors that we have to this beloved town? And they look at him and like, no, not at all. They don't have words to be able to have. And he's like, you two shove off. And he kind of like pushes them and like jabs them a little bit with his like thrusting his spear a little bit, not poking them per se, but like, get onto your boat. Like you need to leave now.
Valineth, not so accustomed to crude dealings such as this. Again, growing up in Rivendell, he's used to pleasantries and being polite, this kind of stuff. He's kind of like taken aback a little bit, but he lets it happen, and he's just like, well, it was nice meeting you two fine gentlemen. I'm sorry we couldn't see eye to eye. And like in a kind, polite way, you know, elven pleasantries, doing his best to keep a good aura about himself.
And that's so you do. And with that natural 20, actually, you've actually noticed that there are groups of people that have come around, and they're kind of rallying to you specifically. You start hearing people in the crowd shouting like, stop taking advantage of the elves. You have no idea what they've done for us. And like people are like, get out of here, like you sell-to-win scum. And they're just like kind of like throwing like tomatoes and stuff at the boat, and like these guys are getting on. And this man, this guard-looking gentleman, he stands kind of triumphant. He turns around and he looks you up and down. You stand slightly taller than him, and he says, guest here to the city of Lake Town, Esgaroth. What is it? How could I be helping you? Clearly you were trying to ask something of importance or trying to make some kind of deal. Is there anything that I can do to be able to assist you?
Still kind of taken aback about what just happened. There's a lot of commotion going on. He's trying to keep composed himself. And he's just like, oh, why, good sir, I really appreciate your help there. I unfortunately don't seem to be very much of an expert of this ends of the world. My name is Valineth. And he takes a nice, like, very, very kingly, in a sense, elven sort of bow towards him, showing respect, but also a refined palate, I guess I should say. And he takes a nice bow. I am Valineth. I am from the fair city of, how do you folks out here call it? Rivendell, right? Rivendell. And what's the elven name for it?
Imladris.
Imladris, sorry. I should probably know this, but of Rivendell. And I actually was asking those fine gentlemen, just kind of like glancing like nervously over his shoulder. I was asking them if they had seen a group of gold-plated clad warriors, elven warriors from Rivendell, pass by this way. I happen to be looking for them.
Well, unfortunately, warriors aren't that common these days. Most of the warriors that we see come from Dale. They in their nice red, beautiful cloaks, and we here in Esgaroth, we tend to, fare for ourselves, and we do fine. There hasn't been a sign of an orc nor anything such as that in, oh boy, I believe 5 years. And you see him, he kind of starts thinking, and there's this kind of, gleam in his eye, almost as like there's like this reflection. And he goes silent for a moment, and he closes his eyes and he opens them back up. Elves in gold plates, warriors. And then he says, come with me. Why don't we go have a drink? Let's talk about this. Let's see if this old brain of mine can remember.
A mighty fine plan that is, and he follows along without asking any questions. He's just excited that potentially he might get some information. So he follows.
Word has kind of spread as you're walking, and glances are actually starting to be turned in your direction. So the elves of Mirkwood, they are beautiful in their own way. Obviously, they are elves, but coming from Rivendell, you actually have this refinedness that, like, people are not used to. You have this aura around you, almost as like an elven king. As you walk through the crowds. And this man, you could tell you had to slow your pace down a little bit in order for him to kind of keep up and somewhat lead the way.
Oh, do I notice, by the way, that he's hobbled and he's not moving well?
Yeah, that was one thing you noticed. I mean, that perception check revealed all to you. So, yeah, and one thing that also you did notice, too, is, like, there's, like, a little bit of, like, hesitancy in him, but he's doing his best to try to be kind as well.
Okay. All right. Well, Valineth does his best seeing what he sees and seeing how he helped him to try to be as kind and caring as he can be. And he slows down his pace, takes his time, doesn't push it. He's super excited to learn any information he can, but he's just gonna follow and he's gonna walk along. And Valineth is actually gonna turn over to him and ask a question. Oh, how mighty rude of me. I gave you my name, but I didn't get your name, my good sir, especially since you helped me back there.
Yes. That's rude of me as well. My name is Lorcard. I am the protector of the lake. And perhaps you have known of me and my heroic deeds?
Lorcard, he said?
Lorcard. So Lorchard. Protector of the lake.
Would I know?
Chances are absolutely not.
Okay. Well, not knowing, obviously he's not gonna be a liar, but he also doesn't want to seem like he's just completely ignorant of this kinds of areas. And he just says, "Protector of the lake? Why, what a fine title that is! I wish I had a title that regal and astute as you. I love it. I love it. You know what? If you protected me, so of course you're protecting of the lake. I love it." And he just continues to talk, ramble, in a sense.
Yeah, and he you can tell, like, he's like half listening and but he's really picking up on those praises, like those small praises. And with each words that you give him, you can tell it's kind of lifting him up a little bit. And he says, yes, of course. 5 years ago when the dragon came down from the Erabor, this town was ablaze with fiery light. And me, obviously King Bard himself was the one who slew the dragon, but there were plenty of heroes that day out here on the lake, saving people and protecting this beautiful, beloved city. And so I was out there on boats, rescuing people from waters and whatnot. And actually, he starts kind of going on about that day and the horrors of it, but like he doesn't look at it so much as horrors, almost as if he's basking in the glory of his heroics. He even goes to mention, he's like, if you look a little bit north of this lake, there is actually the bones of Smaug. Plenty of people go out there and try to plunder his remains, and they say that his scales was completely bejeweled with gold and all kinds of stuff. So we have all kinds of people trying to go out there, and I would be lying if I said I hadn't gone out there myself a few times as a bargeman myself. I'm a proud man, but, I have my duty to this town and my duty to the city, and he continues to go on. He even mentions so much as, back when when the dragon was slain and the city was destroyed, I was one of the loyal ones who stayed here. I was one of the ones who built this city up, while King Bard had made his way over to Dale and decided to start repairing that city. I don't have anything against the guy, of course, but he wasn't the only hero that day, and you can tell that he's really, enjoying and building himself up.
And Valineth listens and nods along. He's like, well, there are all types of heroes. They actually kind of remind me slightly of my father. What noble men. They're what keep this world running, I should say. And so he just kind of gives like pleasantries back and forth. He sees that. Does he notice that he's kind of like basking in these compliments?
Does Valineth notice this?
Does Valineth notice this?
Make an insight check.
Oh my gosh. Oh my lord. Okay. So, okay, that's not bad. 9 plus 3, 12.
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
Valineth sees that, and I don't think you're necessarily feeding into it. I just think you're genuinely curious. And so it's not like you're going out of your way to boast about it. It's just like you've heard tales of the slaying of the dragon from the people that you've encountered, but like this is like firsthand experience. So I think you're really taking this in, and the questions that you're asking are I think very great, and it's more of like an interest of like the story itself as opposed to like this man is a hero, but he's taking it that way as like this man is a hero.
So he listens, and I guess Valineth listens. Are we at the bar yet, or anything, or the tavern that we?
You had actually just arrived at the beginning of the story, and at this point, you probably sat down. He's actually ordered a round of ales. He, for just the two of you, he kind of looks to everybody else and is just like, takes out a couple silver pieces and he puts it on the table, and he kind of actually hesitantly does so.
Yeah, Valineth sees this in general, and he's like, no, by all means, you're the one who saved my life back there. I didn't know where I'd be without you, so see this as a token of gratitude. And he puts out, like, goes into his own coffers and takes out whatever he needs to pay for it.
Make a persuasion check for me.
Oh my gosh, I'm not persuasive. I'm not used to playing a non-bard like character. Oh gosh. Oh no. Persuasion, that's a 3.
A 3. You say this and you kind of start like fumbling over your words, almost a little bit of like, I want to do this for you, but he takes it like he's just like, he pushes your money away and he's just like, no offense, but I've got this. And then he puts the 2 silver coins on the table, and like again he like ties up his coin sack kind of like tentatively and like tucks it away. One thing that you do mention, I'm gonna have you make an insight check, or no, perception check, as you're in this bar and you're kind of watching around, paying attention to a story but looking around too.
Perception, you said?
Correct.
That's a 21.
21. And so you, you're very perceptive about what's going on around here.
That's what I'm good at.
You're starting to notice a difference between his demeanor and honestly his general attire compared to a couple of others. Probably about 5 minutes into your conversation, there was a pair of guards who they looked to be a lot more heavily armored coming in this tavern. And their helmets weren't as dinged up. They're very shiny. Their mail was completely, flawless, like almost like it hasn't seen combat. And they're wearing these elegant purplish cloaks that come out the back. Looking in comparison to Lorkhard, he is, again, kind of dinged up armor. You can tell he's had this chainmail for years, and you can tell his actually body probably has thinned out over the years, and it hangs on him a little bit. His cloak is kind of this tattered gray. Almost kind of looks more like a traveler's cloak, but you notice one very distinct difference between the guards that came in and him. The guards that came in have an official-looking badge on their chest, and Lorkhard, he does not.
Okay. So I'm assuming we're sitting down, and I'm noticing all this, and I'm taking in the surroundings, and I notice it too, and I notice his limping leg, his dinged-up helmet, and he's like, well, it seems that you've seen quite a fair bit of combat, my good sir. I mean, with the stories that you tell me, I mean, I'm surprised that you're here in one piece. Are you holding up okay?
One piece? Barely. but yes, one piece to that. He actually kind of sticks out of the chair so you can just see it. He taps his leg. He's like, it's this trick knee that I've got. Back in the the battle, when the fire was burning, I was able to save a few people from the lake. However, one of the blasts of fire flew all kinds of debris out onto my boat, and one struck my leg mighty fine. But that didn't stop me from the things that I was doing, and so I was saving people left and right, and all these new guards and their fanciness. I mean, I wear the stuff that the stuff of heroes. I like to say that that's what I adored myself with.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That was actually the first thing that crossed my mind. When I first got into the city, I was surprised by the lavishness of these guards. Don't get me wrong, I come from Rivendell, and our warriors alone are lavishly adorned as well. However, they have seen battle, whereas some of these guards are pretty intimidating looking, but none of them look like they have the fighting spirit like you do, my good sir.
He takes a swig of his ale and he goes, ugh. He slams it down on finishing it and you've barely taken 2 sips. This is not something like that you're drinking it because it's kind of the kind thing, but to you it honestly tastes like dirty dishwater. Compared to the elven wines that you can get in Imladris, this is nothing. But again, you're being nice, and he says, I knew I was going to like you. Actually, I do have some information perhaps for you. And he looks glances side to side, and he pulls you in closer.
All right.
Valineth. So you said you were looking for some elven friends of yours, some knights, per se.
Why, yes, that is quite correct, my sir.
There was one night. It couldn't have been more than 1 or 2 months ago, The days kind of run by. I was on the night watch, and I was making my rounds, and there was a man probably about your height, your stature, that had made his way through, and he was asking about a place in the long marches. There was an old city, an old ruin that was there, and he came to me, and he asked about this location, and of course, being a man of knowing my regions, I knew exactly the place that he was talking about. And apparently, in his mind, there was some kind of weapon that was going to be able to help him against some trouble that he was up against. And he made his way south. I pointed him in the direction. I offered to come along, and he said nope. He was not willing to risk me putting me in that danger. I mean, me in danger, of course. But with us, perhaps he made his way down, but I have not seen him for a month or 2. Perhaps he is still down there searching for this weapon that he is looking against his enemies. Perhaps, if you are wondering, we can go and maybe scavenge down there in the long marches. What do you say?
Well, I'll tell you what I have to... Sorry. He's listening super intensely, and he's very curious because, again, this is the first he's heard of anyone who looks like me. So obviously he's like, yes, this has to be it. And he's like, well, unlike my elven brethren who denied your help, I could think of no one else I'd rather go on this adventure with. I think that's a great idea. I think we should head on down there as soon as possible. However, is there anything you need to happen? Is there anything that I could do to make your journey a little bit easier, a little bit lighter on you? I notice, again, your trick knee, as you call it. I've actually been learning some wonderful sort of healing arts. Again, I'm not necessarily powerful on the battlefield itself. I leave that to my brethren and my father. However, I try to be as helpful as I can. I've learned a few things along the way. Is there anything I could do for you to help at least relieve some of your pain?
Relieve the pain. It's not so much the pain anymore. It's more about the joint itself. I don't know any healers these days that can fix an old wound. I mean, you're more than welcome to try, but I feel relatively well, good in stature, and it's been a year since I've had any kind of adventure, and I'm feeling like a little bit of an adventure. Maybe just this excitement within me will invigorate me.
lore master question.
Yes.
I know there's very like limited healing in this game because again, it's not like Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's the world of Middle Earth. So I know there's like herbal remedies, that kind of stuff that you can use to be able to do so. Is this kind of issue that's just like it cannot be helped? Like regardless of how much I do, how good my medicine is, like it's just he's as good as he's gonna get.
So,
When I know
so
this,
think of it as kind of like the idea of like old wounds. If you look at like Lord of the Rings, where obviously Frodo was stabbed with a mortal blade, and Elrond did everything he could to try to help, and the wound never really existed. It's nothing like the wound never really went away. I mean, it's nothing like brutal like that. But from the looks of like his leg, it's kind of bowed, and unless you broke it again and kind of tried to fix it, no amount of like rubbing herbs or like poultices or like even kind of any kind of healing is going to do a lot. There is a beautiful idea and the kind of this imagination of the elves, elven magic, and like they're amazing at healing, specifically elves that come from Rivendell and Imladris. He's not aware of any such things. And so there's rumor, obviously, but obviously it's just fairy tale to him. You could try to do something, but he's gonna just be like, he in his mind, it's just wasted.
Okay. Well, is there anything that I could do to help you with your armor? Is there anything you would like checked out? Is your sword not quite as sharp, or spear, right? Is your spear not as quite as sharp as it used to be before we go on this adventure? Again, you've done so much for me. I would like to be able to do something for you, my good sir.
There is maybe one thing that you could do. And he says, a couple of years ago, I was a little bit tight on some funds, and unfortunately, I had to sell my barge. In order to go on this journey, we have to make our way south on the running river, and we need to hire a barge. And he kind of pats his the area where he slipped his pocket change, and he's like, you see, I have a daughter, you say, and unfortunately, I don't have too much spending money, so if you could perhaps help as far as, this barge and paying for maybe some of the travel expenses, you will have my spear and you will have my shield throughout the entirety of our journey. And you will also have my, kind of wily ways on a boat and the way to be able to, know these lands, kind of serve as a guide, per se.
Knowing this, obviously Valineth wants to do what he can to help appease this, and obviously if we need a barge, we need a barge. So Valineth is like, why, of course. I think that is only fair, and again, if it can help us in this adventure and in this journey, I mean, I am indebted to you, of course. Is there any place that we could go and hire such a boat, or at the very least, we can go and buy one?
Buying a boat? Wow, you must be really rich coming from out west. Erabor must be flowing with all kinds of riches. No. Renting a boat would be just as fine.
Okay. Well, where would we go to be able to do such a thing? I think as soon as we can get out, the better.
I think you're pretty familiar with the place where you need to go back to the docks to do such a thing.
Why, of course. Will those scary men be there again? I mean, I don't mind doing a little fisticuffs, if you understand. I did a little bit of that back in my day, However, I'd rather not come to such terms.
If they're still there, I will make sure they aren't. So don't worry about bruising those pretty hands of yours. We're gonna go ahead and make a journey down south, and those hands will be pretty dirty in the marshes, as it were.
Why, I appreciate your kindness as always. And he's gonna do that. He's gonna finish his drink. Actually, he's gonna just take a couple more sips of it. He's gonna leave it off to the side.
He's gonna eye it longingly.
He gives it. Hey, would you like mine? Before I got here, I just met with some locals at or local elves, I should say, from my cousins from Mirkwood, and I had a few drinks myself, and I'm afraid I'll be useless if I drink anymore. Would you be willing to finish mine? He hands it over.
The elves. Rumor has it that they they're made of sterner stuff, but apparently not. And I probably shouldn't, but if you're offering, he kind of tentatively reaches out his hand to grasp the tankard of ale.
And he says, waste not, want not, and he hands it right over to him.
And he goes, and he takes about a minute to finish it. It's not like he just completely downs it. But he takes about a minute, and then he wipes kind of the from his mustachy beard kind of area, and he says, "Are we ready to go find a barge? I have a couple of things to take care of, so if you remember the way, I will meet you there. There should be a couple of individuals, and like I said, I have a couple of things to take care of, so if you could go find us the barge down at the docks, I will meet you there, and let's just say, give me 2 hours."
2 hours? That is quite fine, my sir. Take your time. I will be waiting there for as long as I can.
Okay.
And he'll make his way.
And so you leave, you go out to the docks, and he kind of departs, and you kind of remember the way. You are definitely looking at all of the people, and people definitely are more starting to look at you now. You stop to ask maybe some directions a few times, and people just kind of like give you like points. Everyone looks very busy doing kind of the stuff that they're doing. Not like unfriendly, like they're pointing away, but they're just like, oh yeah, over there. And so you eventually make your way to the docks and to what looks to be some kind of rental barges. There are some gentlemen there, and without any kind of haggling or anything, they're going to say, yeah, renting one of these, that's going to cost you, how long are you planning to have this for?
Oh, that is a great question myself. It shouldn't be more than a couple days, I should say.
A couple of days, perhaps, 4 silver pieces.
4 silver pieces, and I reach into my pocket. So my currency that I have, is that in silver pieces?
That's all
or is
silver.
That...
So the main,
Okay,
for those of you listening, for everybody, including other players that could be listening, the silver pennies are going to be what are the main source of revenue. Gold does exist, but it's very rare. And so 20 silver pennies equals 1 gold coin. So the silver pennies are the main currency.
Cool. So I can't remember. In my character sheet, I had 1 gold coin's worth, right? Or is that incorrect?
I believe in
Where
your
do I go?
So if you go to your inventory on the character sheet, by either actions, inventory features.
Oh yeah, I see it. Okay, I have 12. All right, perfect.
Cool.
I can do that. And I fork over 12. Why? I think that's a fair price for what we're asking, and I hand over the 4 without even questioning it or anything.
Okay. You wait there. They kind of like prep you a little bit and somewhat teach you how to, direct it. Fortunately, you are going south, so most of it is going to be the current taking you, especially in the downward direction. About an hour and a half later, you see Lorcard. He comes down and he has a small little kind of satchel on him. Full of maybe some stuff for the road, and he has all of his armor and everything. He's carrying his shield on his back, and he says, fancy that. You already manned one of these crafts for us. Well, if it is, if you're okay, we might as well just leave as soon as possible.
Why, of course. I mean, hey, I have to be helpful at some point, right? And he helps him load everything onto the little boat that we have, the barge, and set sail. He goes up to the front of it and like puts his leg up on the stern, and he's just like, onward we go. Just very excited to move on.
Sitting down in the barge, you can tell that Lorcard, he has like one kind of raft, and he's like directing as you kind of push away. And you guys get to chatting a little bit. One thing that's really interesting as you push away from Esgaroth is the lake is beautiful. Like, you've never seen something so blue and yet so kind of wild as far as lakes go. Especially as you make your way kind of down towards like the mouth of the river where the river running starts. And that's the name of the river, by the way, the river running. Where it starts, and you start to see Esgaroth in a small period of time disappear in the distances. You see off to your left, as you're making your way down, what look to be endless plains. And this is the Dalelands, as it were, but known as the Nether Marches. Yes, and so the Nether Marches are an area of relatively barren, and it stands between basically Wilderland and Mirkwood and the land of Rune, basically the far eastern area of Middle Earth. And it looks again very wild. Some hills, but mostly plains. Off to your right, you see the very dark, foreboding forest of Mirkwood, almost as if you're like right below the eaves. Although between you and that darkening forest, there is a what looks to be this set of the long marshes, but it's marshland. There's very little. It's pretty flat. You see a lot of kind of shrubbery and bushes and things of the sort. But you are, you're making your way down this river, and probably about half a day passes. And fortunately, because you're on a boat, it's pretty uneventful. You start to hear the sounds of the wilderness begin to take over. So the hum of insects. You begin to, especially in kind of like this like boggy marsh area, and you can see actually rolled out on like one of the benches in front on the barge. Lorcard, he has a small map. It looks like it's a hand-drawn map, maybe from himself, or maybe he had purchased it, or maybe it is an older map. And there are a couple markings on it in Dalish, the Dalish dialect. So common speech, you can read it. But there are a couple actually marks in the long marches. If you want to take a closer look, you can either ask him about it, or you can attempt to peer over.
Well, being curious about map making himself, because again, he is been very curious again, and he lived vicariously through his father's adventures, and so he loves looking at any sort of cartography, especially in places of the world that he's never been. So he actually sees him pulling out a map, and he's just fascinated, and so he goes right up to Locard and just sits right down with him and tries to do his best to help with the rowing and directing as he can, but he actually asks, "So, is this of your doing? This map is quite remarkable, actually." And
part of it is of my doing. My daughter is quite the map maker herself, and back in her younger years, before the destruction of our fine city, we oftentimes took our barge up and down the river running, and we explored a little bit in the long marshes. Not a whole lot of creatures dwelt in there. It was even a little bit too sticky for the goblins of Mirkwood, so we felt it was relatively safe. There were a few places that we had explored, perhaps, and he kind of points to a couple of the marks. A lot of them are actually X's, as if it's been explored, been there, done that. He explains that there were a few of them that were a couple of ruins that they went to explore. There wasn't a whole lot, but he really begins to start reminiscing about my daughter Lankest, and that's what she her name is. She used to love going on adventures with her dear old pa, and he kind of gets a little bit emotional talking about it. It's just ever since the Esgaroth fell, and I lost my position as a guard, and then he just stops and just then continues on. She hasn't quite looked at me quite the same. Dear old Pa is not quite the same to her, but, I hold on to these memories, and he has this map, and he says, every one of these X's are places that I've gone with her, and places, and everything that is still left on this map that I promised her I would take her someday, but he points, and he goes over, and probably not too far from your relative location, since you're pretty good with directions, Valineth. Mm-hmm. There is a circle, actually, on a map, and he points to that. This is where we will be heading off to. There used to be a small town that was here, and, this town, as it were, when, we had a few very, very strong years, well before I was born, but few really strong years of snowfall and rain up from the Grey Mountains, and as it's made its way through Mirkwood and down the river running, it really began to flood these lands, and unfortunately there was a poor town that existed here, a pretty small town. It, through time, fell to these waters and fell to the marshes. Rumor has it, though, that there is a still secret treasure to exist, as mentioned before, even from the mountains of Mirkwood. And he points, and you can see these tall mountains that actually are peering up above the treetops. even from even from the evil creatures of the mountains of Mirkwood, all the way to the goblins of the Greenwood, as it were. Not a lot of them can survive in this festering bog, but as long as you know your way around, it should be okay. But this is one of those places that, we've longed to go, but unfortunately, I haven't wanted to put my daughter in such danger, as it is a little bit deep into the marshes. But you seem like a lad who is, lad? Are you a lad? I can't really tell.
Well, I mean,
No
my
offense,
own
of
kind.
course.
My own kind would say I am. I mean, I am of the ripe young age of 777 years. So, yes, so someone would call me even just out of juvenile. However, I feel like I know a lot about the world, And he's a little bit self-conscious about it because he realizes, Valineth, that he's young for an elf. He doesn't really, for him, that seems young kind of thing. So it's just like he's just trying to like downplay. It's like, I'm not naive, but at the same time, yes, maybe I'm not as experienced as I normally would be. So that's what he said.
777 years of this life. Quite impressive. If my calculations are correct, this town probably existed in the time that you have arrived, but it's seen quite a bit of rainfall, and it's one of those locations that I've wanted. And again, he kind of like looks longingly down at his money pouch hanging around, and perhaps going on this adventure might help the both of us out in the long run.
Well, I am always in need for an adventure. I mean, that is one thing I lack adventures in my short life as an elf here, and I would like to get going. So I think this is the perfect opportunity.
Sun at this point has started to begin to set, and at this point in the with the river running kind of pushing up against the marshes, he has begun to kind of push away from the banks and make your way into the marshes, to the point where it's gotten so thick where the barge won't move any further. And he says, "Well, you better grab your stuff and hike up those trousers of yours. We will be walking from here."
Nimbly as an elf would, he gets out of the boat as gracefully as possible, offering the help that he can. Valineth again trying to mind the trick knee of his companion, and they start making their way.
So you step into the bog, and your feet immediately sink probably about a foot down into this mud.
Nice.
You can tell actually that Lockhart came prepared. He has these like shoes that are almost kind of like snowshoes, but they help him kind of stay above. And he says, "Unfortunately, this is all that I have for myself. But you're tall enough or young enough in years. Perhaps you are okay." And then he asks you, "Take a couple of steps. How does it feel?"
I take a couple of steps. How does it feel?
Make an athletics check for me.
Oh no, I don't think I'm great at athletics, unfortunately. Well, yeah. Athletics. That's a +0. That's 8.
It's tough. You didn't quite expect it, but at the same time, you can now understand why he didn't take his daughters. So kind of some self-reflection. Gotcha. But not so bad where you can't pass. It's going to take probably a little bit more time than you assumed to get there. But again, with his trick knee, he can't go super quick anyways. But not far into that, as you have left this barge, you start to feel the overwhelming presence of just insects. They're all around, and they have noticed that like you are like the one strand of life that exists like out here, and they are now suddenly beginning to swarm. I'm gonna have you make a survival check for me.
Dear Lord. Okay.
Not like so much where it's like blacking out the sky or anything.
Oh, it's a nat 1.
Yeah, you have no idea quite to the degree what's going on, but you see these bugs coming from the direction. You have like a decent vision during this, and you just start swatting around you. So much to the point where you actually fall forwards into the mud. I'm gonna have you make as you're doing so, an acrobatics check at disadvantage.
That was good. All right, 12. I'll take it.
Acrobatics?
Yeah, acrobatics. It's a +0, and I rolled a 16 and a 12. So
Okay. 12. You are able to kind of catch yourself and actually...
Oh, acrobatics. I'm better at that. I'm sorry. I'm a +2. I thought it was athletics. 14.
As you begin to fall forward, you're actually able to grab yourself and hold yourself on some branch without, like, completely face planting full-fledged into this bog.
Nice.
You also notice a little bit behind you, a hand reaches out and grabs you and kind of helps stabilize you into place. And you notice that it is Lockhart, and he actually at this point has lit a torch. And with the torch, he begins to actually pour what looks to be some kind of oil on the top of it. And it begins smoking like crazy. Like absolute nuts. And as the smoke goes around, he kind of twirls it around, and the bugs gradually begin to disperse. Yeah, probably should have done this a little bit earlier, but, they don't really come out until, sundown. And it's dusk at this point. And so you're making your way forward, and he has kind of like his map kind of rolled up in one arm, his torch in another, and he's kind of looking at the light. And you guys will probably walk for about an hour. And I'm going to actually have you make a one more athletics check for me as you do so.
18. I was going to be like, oh, that's going to be bad. 18.
18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've gotten your footing. You've gotten used to this. You do not take any points of exhaustion as during this. You're kind of taking your time. You make your way to this one area where there's actually kind of this clearing. It looks to be mostly kind of almost like a little pond that exists in the middle. There's not like the boggy land that's around, but you can see just barely look to be the ruins of some kind of stonework peeking out of the marshes. And he says, "That's it. We're here." And he douses his torch and actually just tosses it in. Doesn't toss it, but like takes it and like plants it firmly, like kind of on like the small piece of land. How good are you at swimming?
That's a lore master question. How good am I at swimming?
I would say you're a little bit better than average, considering.
All right, hey.
It's like your athletics, so you're a little bit better than average.
Yeah, I'm a little bit better than average, I would say. I mean, I'm not anything of physical stature, but I do consider myself to be quite dexterous when I need to. And he just starts like doing all these like stretches and stuff. Where do you need me to swim?
Do you see that out there right in the middle of the bog?
Oh, why, yes, I do. My elf eyes see quite well, in fact.
From what I know and from what my intel says, and, I've taken a couple explorations out here, this actually used to be the town hall of the town that once existed here. Built of stone, dwarven stone, of course, and as we know, dwarven stone lasts forever. Even, the bog tries to claim it, it still is there. But down underneath, I do believe that there is what look to be the old coffers that are there, and this is the direction that I sent that elf friend of yours, hopefully elf friend, and we have to go for a little swim to dive down beneath the entrance there. But I do think that there is an air pocket underneath, so don't you worry, it's not completely submerged the whole time.
Oh, I was quite concerned, but I appreciate you for being honest and truthful with me. I will prepare my lungs. And he starts doing these breathing exercises that maybe seem very, how to say, quite strange maybe to some people who have never seen elven breathing exercises before. They do it every morning when they wake up, and he's super ready to go for adventure.
You begin to go down, but as you do, before you submerge your head completely underwater, I'm gonna have you make a perception check.
That would be a 14.
A 14. You notice that there are actually some fish that are swimming in and around, and there are a few of them that are coming actually in and out of this dark entrance. And there is actually a small current that seems to be coming outwards towards you. So chances are from what you can kind of deduce, there's probably some kind of air pocket that is underneath.
Okay. And I pop my head back up. Oh, yes, I can deduce from just what I can see down there. There does seem to be some sort of air pocket. Will you be okay on this adventure? I think I can do it, but I
I
don't
might
know.
have a trick knee, but these are sea legs, I tell you. Living my life on the water, I've quite good as far as the swimming, my swimming capabilities, so no need to worry about me. I will not slow you down. If anything, I'm probably quicker in water than I am on land.
I'll try not to slow you down, my friend, as well. And I
So you
get
go,
ready.
you do you take the dive, and
Yeah.
you begin. It's not too deep actually, probably about 6 feet at the deepest.
Okay.
But this building, as you look around, yeah, it started to submerge into the mud, and the doorway itself, kind of like almost like a little tunnel that leads inwards. And so it's kind of like the building is on a little bit of a slope, leaning backwards.
Okay.
So you kind of have to go up and like in this direction.
Okay. All right. Well, we attempt. I follow him. I'm gonna let him lead the way since he seems to know it better. And I'll do my best to keep up with him. So.
All right, so I'm gonna have you as you dive down. Just a general. You don't have to make any checks. It's not a very far swim, and you seem pretty aware of your surroundings. So you probably swim for less than 30 seconds as you duck down underneath, and you find yourself.
Maps. Maps. Oh my gosh.
Maps, battle maps. It's great. You pop up right into what you do assume was an air pocket.
Hey, it's me. That's my character.
Yes, it's a Valineth, and
Oh.
poof, Locard, he pops up right beside you. The two of you see, and as you pop your head up, the one thing that you notice, and it's immediately present to you, the smell of just dankness. Like it is like, like mildew and like mold and rot, but like tenfold. This building, it is primarily made of stone, but as you are kind of down beneath, it seems like only the upper level is not flooded. And so it looks like there like this entire underneath level is like rotting wood and like, some very stone pillars that are kind of keeping it up. But there is like a staircase that does lead upwards onto relatively dry, kind of dirty, mucky, not quite mud, but like definitely not super solid ground. There's not a whole lot in this room specifically, but it's awful. Like if you weren't like knowing like what bogs smell like, you would just be like, this smells like death. This is awful. This is the worst thing ever. But yes, so you've made your way into this kind of flooded chamber, as it were.
Valineth takes a breath as he comes up, and then he like covers his mouth and pinches his nose. Oh Lord, my goodness! Do I have any perfumes on me? And he quickly like pulls out his bag and like starts looking through really quickly, like just kind of keep himself busy. Not used to like the nasty smells of it. Do I have anything to help with it?
Unfortunately, you don't really have anything other than torches, for example. So the fortunate thing is your bag itself is relatively waterproof, and so such a short dive didn't dampen your torches too much. And it is pitch black in here. There is no light whatsoever.
All right, I take out the torches, dig through. I have 5 of them, I believe. So I hand one to him, and then I take one myself. So, and then we begin to light, I guess.
And so you light the torches, and so you're able to do so. And as you kind of stand up, you notice that the water itself is like breast level to you, and there's a stairway that you do make your way up and onto land, unless you wish not to.
No, I'll take the stairs. So I see the stairs, I take the stairs.
You take the stairs, and as your torches kind of light the area, it doesn't take long to light those. This room is honestly pretty devoid of any features. It's pretty old. Any kind of engravings or carvings, tapestries have just long rotted away, long gone. But you do notice that up ahead, there is a narrow passage, relatively narrow passage that leads into more darkness.
Cool. Will I call over to my good sir Locard? So Locard, is this where we need to be? Shall we go straight? What do you think?
He takes a sniff and he's like, Ooh. I'm telling you, if your elf friend is here, I really hope that is not him.
Those were my thoughts exactly. Still trying to be polite about it, but like doing his best not to breathe through his nose, but like covering his mouth like this a little bit because he doesn't want to breathe in the dankness. It's good. Yeah, he's not liking it very much. But well, first and foremost, I do want to take a quick look around the room, make sure if I see anything sort of before we head forward. Is that possible?
What is your passive perception?
It's pretty good, I think. My passive perception is where do I take a look at that? Is that just like my modifier?
That's gonna be underneath on the left side. It's gonna be underneath your stats. Left side of your character page underneath your stats.
Oh yeah, sorry. Passive perception. 15.
15. So you look around and there's not much to see, but you're using your pretty much every sense that you have. And there's something odd. You would think that somewhere completely submerged would be like completely stale air, but like you can actually feel a very, very light breeze coming from the pathway up ahead.
Okay. And I relay that information. Yeah, it doesn't smell very good, but I do seem like there is some sort of moving air up ahead. I think that's probably our best bet to go where we need to get going, and so
yes, indeed.
I lead the way.
Treasure awaits. I mean, your friend awaits.
Well, if we find some treasure in the meantime, too, I'm sure no one's gonna miss it.
And you make your way forward. So as far like how cautiously are you going? Are you going like creeping or are you like moving? Are you trying to be stealthy at all? You have torches, so that's not going to help a whole lot as far as stealthiness goes.
Well, I mean, within reason, I'm not gonna be like slapping my like my boots on the ground and like doing all this kind of thing. Obviously, it's adventure, but you still got to be cautious. From like my adventuring, the few years that I have been, I've learned to heed caution more so than not. So I just think my general walking and my general speed is of a sort of caution. Obviously, not like any like stealthy treasure hunters or wanderers kind of thing, but as much as my scholarly feet can do.
So you make your way into what looks to be a much larger room, actually. And it starts all the way, you enter from the bottom area here. You're not able to see a whole lot as far as the torchlight is concerned, but you do notice that you're in a very big, open room. This looks like to be some kind of great hall of sorts, but again, it's pretty vacant of any features. It's like this vast kind of vaulted chamber, and you can see directly to your left, there's kind of this arched opening that leads with a lot of rubble on the ground, and immediately to your right, you see the same. You're not able to see up much further than that, however, but I'm going to have you make a perception check while you are in here.
Okay. Please roll well. Even if I don't, that's like one of my best things, so it's fine. Oh my gosh, it's real good. +5, what is that, 23? Yeah.
The wind itself doesn't seem to be coming from any of the entrances. It still seems to be coming from up ahead. However, upon kind of further investigation, you notice that the air seems thicker to your left, and the smells seem worse to your right.
Okay. Seems thicker to your left. Seems
the air's
worse.
Thicker, and then the smells are worse to your right.
Worse to your right. I relay this knowledge. So, from what I can deduce by looking around here, my good sir, in a kind of like a hushed whisper in a way, because I don't want to like disturb anything. It seems to be, it seems a lot more stagnant off to the left here, yet off to the right here, this is where those awful smells are coming from. What do you think, my friend? Which way is best?
We're looking for signs of life, is that correct?
I guess so, or treasure, or whatever you think it could be. I'm not super familiar with these kinds of things. I'm assuming the bad smell is from organic material of sorts. Oh, I in my studies, that's what I've come across.
But typically, bad smells tend to be signs of bad things.
That's what I was thinking too, my friend. So, maybe we start with the still rooms up ahead, or off to the left. The just the super musty, oppressive nature of that. Yes, there's no wind or anything. However, it seems safer.
Perhaps we can take a little bit on the left there, and you kind of wander in this general direction. And as you do so, you notice that your torches light like the whole walls and the whole corners. And this doorway is very interesting because it does not look original. It looks like almost like it's been carved out of the stone, and so you see a lot of what look to be ruins and rubble and wall, and what look to be, like super hard mud, and it almost leads into an almost tunnel-looking area.
Does it seem like there's been any activity about these areas in a while, or does it seem that
Make an
it's very
investigation
vacant?
check for me.
What kind of check? I'm sorry.
Investigation.
That's a 7.
7. It looks. It's hard to tell, and you can tell one thing for sure though. This is not original, and you do see what look to be some kind of scattering of like the debris that's on the ground. Like maybe something was moved slightly. Like not in their original places, as there's still like indents of like maybe where rubble used to be that maybe it's like slightly moved. That's it. That's all you can deduce.
Okay, I take a look at it and I'm just like, I do get a slightly uneasy feeling about this. Maybe there's a reason why it's super stagnant. It doesn't seem like any air moves through here. However, this doesn't seem very original to me. What do you think? What do you think?
He kind of rubs his kind of little gristly beard, and he pulls out his shield and he says, "I think it's worth a look."
Right behind you, my friend, and I grab my my short bow at the back, kind of have it in hand ready, just so like I'm ready just in case something does happen, but still holding the torch in one hand, and just like I have it down at my side just in case anything bad happens. Yeah.
So
I let him bleed.
Yes, absolutely. So you duck into this little kind of like hallway tunnel chamber. And what you do notice is it actually is this kind of winding path that slopes downwards. You can tell like probably you're down inside the mud somewhere. And it's very narrow. Basically, it's as narrow. Who's leading, by the way?
He is. So Lorkhart is. Yeah.
So he has a shield out in front, and he has like his torch, and he's kind of lighting it, but like it's like just about like you have to, both of you kind of have to crouch a little bit in order to get through this. Probably about like 5 foot, like 8 is like the tallest of it. And it's very tight quarters. Like there are points where you're weaving around, and you have to turn sideways. Like if you wished to escape, you would not be able to. I mean, maybe hobbit size like could fit through this relatively easily, but you as a full-grown elf and full-grown man are actually kind of struggling a little bit. So much to the point where through this little like kind of jimmy-in around that corner and around kind of this smaller corner, he kind of actually has to almost throw his shield out onto the other side in order to like squeeze by. But you do eventually make your way, and this is probably about with some struggling, about a 4-ish minute walk. It's not too bad. Kind of a little bit of spelunking. And you notice like you squeeze through, and the mud itself seems damp. So it's not like hard dried mud, but it's like kind of like,
it's moist.
Very moist. And so it's kind of smearing all over you and whatnot. As you've made your way down into kind of the stiller area, though, I'm going to have you make a Constitution saving throw for me.
Oof, that's not my strong suit.
The smell is not...
Yeah, it's a natural one!
The smell is very unbearable to you. So much so where you actually begin to have a coughing fit. And you are just like, you're not feeling it. Not. I'm gonna have you actually gain 1 point of shadow.
Oh, where
So
do
that's
I add
something.
that?
That's something you're gonna have to write
Okay.
down.
Okay.
On.
Oh, that shadow already. This is like pre-session, and we're getting shadow already. Ah, is it permanent or temporary?
So temporary. So the way that your feature works is basically you have points of shadow, and you can hold up to points of shadow all the way up to your maximum wisdom score. But the way that you work is every time you take a fellowship undertaking to remove shadow, you gain 1 point of permanent. So in your case, it benefits you more to gain more shadow and heal shadow less often, because
Okay.
every time you heal shadow, by the fellowship undertaking, you automatically gain a point of permanent
So
shadow.
sorry, this is just another question. What's the point of healing it then?
No, there's a point in it, because like for example, you'll have 1 point of permanent shadow eventually. You don't have any points of permanent shadow now. You will
Yeah.
gain a point then. However, if you go and you, for example, let's say you have 6 or 7 points of shadow and you decide to heal it, you always will gain 1 no matter how many points you're healing.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, that makes sense. So it's not like one per
Yes,
temporary.
it's just
Okay.
1 every time you heal. So
So
the
go as
longer,
long as I can.
kind of go as long as you can,
Within reason.
reasonably.
Yeah. Because I'm assuming the temporary ports of shadow also have repercussions without getting healed.
Yeah,
right?
so basically the temporary points of shadow will be like you'll have to make skill checks and rolls and that kind of stuff. So temporary points of shadow don't really mean a whole lot to you at this point. Like you could gain a ton of shadow right now and remove it all and still only gain 1 point of
I'm
permanent.
gonna tell you guys, those of you out there in the audience, freaking Rivendell high elves are freaking sick, but sucks when it comes to shadow for them. So
No, it's really good because actually I believe you have proficiency with not proficiency. You might have an advantage on this roll.
Where would I look for that? Shadow lore? Would I look at?
For now, we'll give you 1 point of shadow. I'll need to look into it a little bit later. But I
Okay.
believe you might actually have a feature that makes it so you have like proficiency against certain types of shadow checks.
Okay, sounds good.
Does that make sense?
I'll also look into that
Yeah.
as much as I can. All right, sounds
Yeah.
good.
So you might get the reroll there, and then we will just roll that out off screen, and you might not get points of shadow.
Cool, sounds good.
Anyways, so you make your way down into this tunnel, and there is actually this wooden door at the very end. Almost as if like this had been taken from somewhere else and like wedged in here into the mud. But it's like the door, there's a door, like a clear door frame, and it goes up and around, and there's a very heavy looking wood door, and it's moist. A moist door.
I turn to Lorcard and I say, "Wow, I don't know what kind of carpenters have made their way through here, but that's quite impressive. Should we try to force our way through?"
I think that's a good idea. And he puts a shield in front of him, and he kind of
Wait, Lorcard. Actually, I'm gonna put my ear to the door, see if I can hear anything on the other side.
yes. So go ahead and make a investigation check. Or I guess it'd be more perception. Perception.
Man, all these freaking low ass numbers. I hope I get them all out of my system now. 6 plus perception plus 5, so 11.
11.
Yeah.
You do not hear a word.
Nice.
Don't even hear sound. Not even so much as like a scratch or a pedible move.
Okay.
It's dead silent.
I think the coast is clear, my friend, and I back up.
All right. So because who's gonna be in front, kind of taking the brunt of this?
He is. I'm slender. I'm not
So
strong.
because you're helping, I'm assuming you're gonna like try to push
Yeah,
from
yeah,
behind.
yeah.
He's
I'll
gonna
push from
get he's gonna
behind,
get
yeah.
advantage with his athletics check. So,
It's a good thing I didn't roll this. Oh, your dice is black. Well, that did nothing. Nice.
so let me take a look at his athletics.
Is he athletic? Hopefully he is. At least a couple points would help.
Second, he is decently athletic. So he got a 10.
right, hey.
He got a 10 on his
Nice.
roll. So you
I'll
guys were
take it.
able to, with a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, you're able to barely squeak it open.
Nice.
And you, with your torches in hand, make your way into kind of a circular room. And this room is much taller than the tunnel you had come from.
Okay.
This one actually looks to be completely carved of rock.
Okay.
Kind of like you've gone into the bedrock of this area here, and the door, it's like because you were sloping downwards the whole time, you finally hit bedrock of some kind. You look in this area and you see beholden for you, one, a really good warm feelings and a treasure hoard in front of you.
Huh. Is it suspiciously in front of me, or is it like you can just
Well,
tell?
I mean, you can tell like it doesn't seem like disturbed.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is that like, does it seem like it's long forgotten? Does it seem like it's freshly put there? Does it seem like there's something fishy about it being located in the way that it's positioned?
Mm-hmm.
Like a trap-ish kind of look?
It's full with all kinds of gold coins.
Okay.
And these gold coins are shiny and pristine.
So they're fresh-ish.
The whole chamber kind of itself, you kind of start to lose some of that like dank smell from behind the door, almost as if it's not perforating through that door and perforating into this area.
Okay.
You can see Lorcard. His eyes are just like aghast. But the one thing that you both have in common is you're starting to feel kind of like this warmth feeling inside. Like, wow, this is amazing. Kind of like I won the lottery, but I feel really comfortable around this treasure.
I look over to Lorcard. I'm like, do you feel that? This seems way different than just a few steps back. Do you find this to be okay? Is there anything I would have read in my time, like growing up, about treasure and maybe the feelings that it gives you, whether it be about, I don't know, some sort of things to be wary of when it comes to adventures, even if it's from like stories from my father that he's given me? Is there any sort of
Make a lore check for me.
a lore check? Oh, that's the wrong dice. That's a D12. All right, give me that one more die. Oh no! that's a 4.
A 4.
A 4.
You're just aghast. You're just like, I can't believe like I've stumbled upon this. In all my years of traveling, I haven't seen something like this. And Lorcard, he actually looks, he's like, his eyes are just wide open, and he's just like, in all of my years, even Smaug's treasure hoard could not even compare to what I'm seeing right now. It's clearly less than what's what Erabor
He's never seen Erabor's Smaug treasure, so he doesn't know.
Exactly. And this is like pristine gold.
I'm still wary about it. Obviously I can't recall anything about this. I think overall though, like he's like just naturally kind of person, he is going to be a little bit slightly cautious about it, and he will say, I have heard wonderful stories about treasure troves like this. Just make sure nothing goes to your head, my fine sir. And I slowly start to approach. Slowly.
And as you approach, you see that it's not just gold, but it looks like all kinds of polished silver table knives, cups, dishes, everything like thrown within there, like kind of like nice silver plated, nice stuff, lamps, candlesticks. This looks like it's not just like someone stored away their gold hoard, but it looks like things have been added over time. Almost like it's like there's an accumulation of wealth over time that's been here, and it's all mixed together in this pile. Nothing obviously like chests or anything like that. Like everything is out there for your eyes to see.
Yeah. I'm gonna look really quick and see if there's any like recent disturbances in like the ground or anything. Like, cause some of this gold and stuff looks new, and so I just want to make sure like there's nothing like immediately around us, if that makes sense.
Make an investigation check, and I'm gonna have you do it at disadvantage.
Okay. Ooh, that's a 5. Okay, so 5 plus 5 plus investigation. 5 plus 2, 7.
7. You look really hard. You're doing all in your possible like within you to not just like gaze at like this treasure hoard.
I'm rolling so bad.
You do notice, though, what look to be some kind of disturbances in the mud. You can't tell if it's quite a footprint of
Yeah.
sorts, or if it's just like something moved. Basically, there's kind of like what looks to be. It could be a footprint, but maybe not.
All right. Well, I guess still a little bit cautious, but obviously can't really decipher from all the freaking rolls that I've been having. I start to like kind of just like tentatively start like trying to gaze at the things, looking to see if there's anything, the sort of weapon that was mentioned or this kind of thing. Like looking past the gold for me, I'm looking more for the what lore card actually told me that this Rivendell warrior was looking for itself. So I'm looking past the gold. I don't know about him, but
He has approached side by side with you, and he's actually taking the tip of his spear, and he's moving like coins and stuff, and kind of like to see if there's like any traps. He's a little bit wary too.
yeah.
However, he's also like trying to like obviously bring them down to the floor to reach down and pick them up.
Yeah.
Both of you are gonna make. I need you to make wisdom survival throws or saving throws for me.
No, no, oh, please. Oh, okay, that's good. Oh, thank God. That's good for me.
And then lore card for his wisdom saving throw. Oh.
That's a 24 for
24.
yeah, Valineth. He's very wise, I should say. Lord card, please.
He got a 7 plus.
Please don't be a minus. Please.
Plus 1, 8.
Okay,
So, he can't resist and he starts picking up the gold. Just pieces of gold. You don't notice any immediate effects actually as he's picking it up. But you, in your mind, there's something in your deepest of hearts that knows you do not need to be touching this. You don't need this. And if anything, it's like there's this kind of, there's a nice over my face. That's nice. But it's, as you're kind of, getting drawn closer and closer to this, you start to realize what your true treasure is family and your father. And visions of him start flooding into your mind. And it breaks you enough from kind of this trance, this kind of dragon sickness, as it were, to snap you back to reality. Lore card, he is not necessarily shoving his pockets full of this, but he's probably on his like 8th gold coin that he's starting to pick up at this point.
Yeah, Valineth calls over to him. Man, this is quite a wonderful chest, but I can't keep getting this feeling that we just shouldn't be touching it, my friend. Maybe we should wait to clear out these holes and these caverns first before we have our fill of such a lavish treasure. I know it's not going anywhere. I mean, you and I both know it's not going anywhere. This is quite a mound of gold here. I feel like we should just make sure there's no one here first and get caught off guard, you know?
From what you've known in your experience, and now that you're kind of aware of everything, there is nobody currently in your vicinity. You cannot hear anyone. It's just a silent. The only sounds that you could hear are like some shifting of the coins from when the continuously falling of the coins from when they was originally disturbed.
Okay. Well, I do my best to try to like provoke him, or as he's like gradually picking him up, I'm like, just don't get so much right now. You can always come back, my good friend, later on. Again, this isn't going anywhere. But I do think it's best that we look around. We're here for a reason, right? We're here to look for signs of this elf. But of course, after we've exhausted all of our investigative processes, maybe we can come back and you can get what you've earned, my friend.
Make a persuasion check.
I'm so bad at that. I'm not used to playing a character with bad persuasion. Oh! Why? It's a 3.
You're free to do whatever you want. I'm gonna stay here and, as you said, get my well-earned treasure.
All right, Lord Card, I'll leave you to it, my friend. Just I've heard really bad stories of something called dragon sickness. Just make sure you're not biting off too much that you can chew, my friend. And I guess I investigate myself, and I look around the general vicinity. I'm looking for any signs of of this, of this weapon sort of treasure. I'm also looking signs for like any human-esque footprints slash signs of like anyone who's like living has been in this general area in this vicinity. Yeah.
Yeah, you look around and you make your way kind of on the southern half of this room. And there's kind of this corner that's tucked away. And you start to see what look to be footprints in the mud. It's interesting. It's a mixture between like bare feet footprints. But there are two and kind of some smudged, very clear boot footprints, and these are larger than a elven boot. This is like a big man, maybe a Beorning, dwarf potentially.
Well, you did say bare feet.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Sense.
That's true.
Okay, so a big man, okay, and potentially some other things. Are they fresh? Can I tell if they're fresh or not?
Everything is damp in here. I'm gonna have you make an investigation check.
Right. Ugh, God, it's so bad, guys. It's so bad. That's a 9.
9.
It's actually not horrible, but it's not great.
Your guess is as good as you can, but the bare feet seem more recent.
The bare feet do. Okay. So I actually like slightly call over to Lorcar, trying to wake him up from his senses. I think there's been someone here who's been here recently. I just get a bad feeling about this. I think maybe we should be on the move here shortly, my friend.
People that are here, if our elf friend made it, that's the only one I can think of. To be honest with you, with all of this gold still here, with all this, and he's just like, you can tell he's just like, yeah, there's no way anyone's been here. There's no way anyone can resist this.
Well, maybe this is someone's hoard. Maybe someone brought it here for a reason. Maybe this is the place where they're keeping it. Because it looks like these are decently fresh, I mean, as far as I could tell. And there's multiple footprints. And I explained to him, like, the fact that there's actual, like, toe prints and, like, footprints. Like, they're probably not a person by any means by what it looks like. And massive boot footprints. And I'm like, oh, this just seems too good to be true, my friend.
Too good indeed. Well, I'm still keeping what I grabbed, and
Oh, of course, I'm not telling you not to, but...
And if we have time later, I would like to come back here.
Of course, you deserve it, my friend, but right now I just think we should have our wits about us.
He just kind of grunts. You can tell he's become a little bit more harsh. And his pockets are beginning to bulge a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gotten his fill. I'm sorry, my dude. All right. Well, I kind of follow the footprints and make sure that Lorcard is following, and we.
Well, the footprints are in this southern corner here, so kind of like where you're standing.
Okay. Are there any signs of anything on the walls or anything in that corner that I could look? No.
Nope.
Okay. Maybe we should head back through here. We know where it is, and we can get back through here. I just think that it's better that we investigate the rest of the area first.
Fine. And he, as he's moving, you guys at this point, because of him coming with you, you're going to have disadvantage on any stealth checks that you have because he's jingling away.
And I keep encouraging him because it seemed to have worked before. I'm like, man, I'm glad that you're here with me. I don't know what I would be doing by myself. Again, yes, I'm a learned and I have many years here in this great Middle Earth that is ours. However, no, I just feel so much more comfortable having having a war hero with me. Just trying to like pump him up a little bit, make sure he's like
that. Yes, you should. And he's just kind of getting a little impatient. He keeps looking back over his shoulder. What's the marching order?
Him first. I'm making him go first through the hallway.
Okay. So he does so. He's barely able to squeeze through these narrow hallways. And that's just something. It's just like, how am I going to be able? And he's just like, you can tell he's like contemplating like how he's going to get more of that gold out. But you guys do make your way up and out and through.
Okay.
And you are once again found right back in this central chamber. Oh, cool. Yeah, right here. right back in the central chamber of this area.
Yeah. So the only places we have left are to the right, like the dank-ass smelling areas.
As
to the
far as
right.
you know, because you've only
Okay.
explored the southern part of this room.
I guess we'll make sure we'll go up north a little bit. We'll take a trajectory, just being sneaky about it. I'm still keeping an eye out for any like signs of like freshly moved dirt since I saw those footprints. Anything that's similar to what I had previously seen.
So now that you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for, I'm going to have you make a investigation check with advantage.
Okay, it's a 14 or a 7. I'll take the 14.
14.
Yeah.
There are some footprints. They're pretty tough to see as there is a lot of rubble in this area. And they're pretty not like solid, like, oh, this is somebody's foot that's here. Almost kind of like something's dragged, like feet like kind of doing this thing. This like shuffling a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
And you notice as you're walking, there are a few sets that go down this hallway to your right.
Okay.
There's a few that go down to this hallway to your right. And then there is a set of more firm footprints that lead upwards in a direction. These are not the same footprints that you saw before down below.
Are they smaller?
They're smaller.
Okay. And now are they shooved? Do they have shoes?
They're boot.
Okay. Well, I point them out to Lord Card. I'm like, oh well. I mean, I see this here. These seem to be kind of similar to the bare feet that I saw down below. However, this is a new set of footprints. I think maybe we should go north, right? Or yeah, we should go up these flight of stairs. We should go forward.
It's an interesting sensation though. So you're going forward, but like remember this like building is kind of like sinking.
Oh, slanted. Yeah,
slanted.
Okay.
And so like you're going kind of downhill still, but like you're going forward. So
okay, I think we should go forward at least for now. Maybe that's best for us to check.
After you, my friend. And you can tell he's just like, he's like, you can hear him muttering to himself, kind of like counting, like, you know, not necessarily searching through his pockets, but like counting, like, wait, this. If I have this many, and then I can probably get this.
It's gonna be useless in battle if we get to it. Oh, okay. Okay, well, I follow the footprints as well as I can, as sneakily as possible.
Make a stealth check for me. It's going to be a disadvantage with him following you.
Ooh, a 7. What is my stealth anyways? I don't think it's good. Stealth. Oh, it's not bad. +2. +2. Okay, I'm kind of dexterous, I guess. So that's 9 for that roll. Second roll. Well, it's a nat 1, so obviously the nat 1 is okay. What the hell?
Jingle, jingle, jingle. I can hear the slow bells ring. I am old Kris Kringle.
Oh, my
I'm the king
Lord.
of jingling.
Oh, my Lord. I'm being as stealthy as possible, Mr. Lorcard. Okay. All right.
You are, and he's just money pockets. Making his way through. I'm gonna have you at this point make a wisdom skill check for me, or a perception skill check for me.
Oh my gosh, these rolls. I mean, they're not horrible. Wisdom, you said?
Perception.
5 + 9, 14.
14. Yeah, you make your way kind of up north, kind of towards this room, downwards, I guess. And you have what has been revealed to you is there are actually 2 doorways on your left and 3 doorways on your right. You see the pair of boots make their way up here and then they kind of vanish. So up towards like where this little notch is. This great hall looks like it ends in what looks to be kind of the remnants of a fireplace, like an old ancient fireplace. You're unable to, you lose kind of the footprints in any direction of where anything is going. However, you do feel a slight breeze coming from this area.
Okay.
From the fireplace area.
I look into the fireplace and I look up, seeing if it's a draft that's coming down. I try to look at the brickwork, see if there are any like visible holes or any potential hiding places or secret doors, passages. I'm trying to decipher where this air in this fireplace is coming from.
As you do this, I'm gonna have you make a dexterity saving throw for me.
Oh my gosh. Oh, why am I so curious? That's pretty good though. That's an 18.
18.
Wait, saving throw? Saving throw.
Yeah,
saving throw. That's an 18.
Sweet.
Pretty good.
Yeah, you stick your head in and you look up and you like pretty easily avoid what looks to be some bell. There's like a bell that's going all the way up,
Huh.
and it's a little bit dingy, but you avoid the bell. But you see that it's like attached and goes up, and you can feel there's air, and you can see what looks to be the very faintest view of like the night sky that's above you.
Okay.
So this is a chimney that leads out upwards, but there is also hanging from what looks to be a like a I don't know like a bracket that goes along a bell that is hanging down.
Okay. I relay the information. I think this is a bell. I don't know. I mean, this looks like a fireplace to me, but maybe it's the bell tower. I'm pretty sure this leads outside, and
It's not like a big bell. Think of it as like a little kind of like a sleigh bell.
Gotcha. I just
It's like polished in silver.
yeah. I get a bad feeling about this lore card. I don't think we should be here, and I think we should maybe turn back slightly, and maybe follow the other footprints that are going the other way. I guess.
So the boots footprints they stop here. The other footprints from what you last saw, you have to make kind of your way back here. And these are going to be kind of your shuffling footprints, and they go off in this direction, and this direction.
We're gonna go the first direction that you pointed.
So down here.
Yeah.
All right. So you make your way, and the smell is getting heavy here.
Yeah.
It's bad, and you're still not used to it. You've been here for how long, and you're still not used to it.
Okay.
But as you do so, you come into contact here with
tunnels.
what look to be kind of tunnels. They are. I'm actually going to have you make a traditions check.
Traditions. What are all these new stats? That's not bad. All right, I think I'm good at I'm okay at traditions. It's a 15.
15.
It's a 15.
You take one look down these halls and you stick your torch down there. And this is very clearly, very obviously a human burial site.
Oh.
Kind of. And so, from what you can deduce of what you know of what this building is, it's probably less of a town hall and more of some kind of either crypt or church-like building.
So I am an elf of Rivendell. Can I sense anything that is of the shadow that is down here? Because I inherently sense that, and I can see that kind of stuff as being that's one of my traits that I have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can sense it.
You can sense it, and it's coming very much from down this direction.
Yeah. I am going to turn to low card. Yeah, we're not going down there, my friend. I'm sorry. I have encountered many things in my life, but I am afraid that whatever lies down there, both of us aren't even going to be able to take on. And so I'm going to avoid that. So we're going to go to the next door. Do the same thing.
So you make your way down below here, and it's the exact same setup.
And I can still sense evil.
Absolutely.
Or I can... Oh, my gosh.
One thing that you do notice about going down into this kind of more southern area is probably about 30 feet-ish down in the middle. There looks to be what is like a shape that is on the floor. It is not moving, but it clearly is not a rock or anything, but it definitely is some kind of body.
I'm gonna relay the information to Lore Card. Lore Card, I do believe that there is some sort of body. It's not moving or anything. It's just laying there.
It's just laying there,
Completely prone. I can't. Can I see any detail about it, or is it just like I know it's a body kind of thing? Like it's just the general shape.
You're gonna have to go probably about 10 feet closer. So this is what you can see from just peering into the room with your torch. You're gonna have to go about 10 feet closer in order to get your torch light to completely cover it. And so you can see from a relative distance what this is.
Okay, I have my bow kind of readied in a sense. Like I have it like in the same hand as the torch. I have an arrow kind of like ready knocked. Like the torch is in my bow hand, so like the torch is here, and I'm like kind of like have an arrow ready going down like this.
That's
Follow.
that's a little bit yeah.
I know,
I'm
I
gonna
know.
have you first before you do that. Go ahead and make a acrobatics check
Oh my
with
lord.
disadvantage.
Uh,
You
that's
got
not bad.
nat 19 though.
Not bad. That is a 13
13.
total.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're able to do it enough, but if you make
Yeah,
any
it's
attacks,
awkward.
if you make any attacks, your attack rolls are going to be at disadvantage.
That's fine. That's okay.
You make your way down, and you have this torch, and you have this arrow knocked, and you see, like, kind of coming in behind you, Lorkhard is there. He looks down, and then he turns around, and he puts his shield up in front of him, almost as if to cover your back.
Okay. Yeah.
You look, and the torch covers this area, and you see a fleshy-looking creature on the ground. It is humanoid-like, but it's face down, and you can't really see. There's no really distinguishing features. It's like face and neck kind of blend into its shoulders, and it looks to have some kind of wounds on its stomach, torso area. It does look to be not breathing, whatever it is.
Do they seem to be some sort of bestial wound? Would I be able to see like someone being like mauled by something, or does it seem to be like some sort of like clean cut? Or
It is a very clean cut.
okay. I call back to Lorkhard as like in a whisper. Lorkhard, I don't like the look of this. It is something that appears to be dead. However, this was not a natural death. That's all I say. That's what I say back to him. And I kind of like take
Lorkhard, he's like, no. You need to tell me exactly what you're seeing in there.
and I relay the information. It is a fleshy, big humanoid creature. I don't know. Have I seen something like this before in my adventures? Probably not.
Actually, I'm gonna have you make a shadow lore check.
Ooh, I'm kind of good at that, sorta. Hey, look at that! Look at that. That is an 18.
You have hunches. So
Alright.
being from Eriador, you've heard legends of creatures out west, and you don't know specifically about out east, not specifically about the Long Marches, but this place called the Dead Marshes. And in there, that's where the battle, basically against Sauron, was at the beginning of the Third Age. And your people were a part of this. This is a perilous place, and rumor has it that the dead do walk. You are wondering if it's something like that, but again, you're stumped because you have no like. If
I've never
if
seen,
it was an undead thing, it would have more humanoid features. This thing is barely humanoid.
Huh. Is it big? Like how like the size of it compared to like me and Lorkhard?
It's hard to tell because of the way that it's laying, but it's probably about a good like 5.5 feet ish.
Okay. And I explained that to him. I'm like all the detail. In my times and in my studies, I have heard of the undead, but this doesn't seem human. I mean, it's humanoid, but it's not human. I don't like the look of this. Would I know if it was like an orc or goblin?
Oh yeah, definitely. This is not orc or goblin.
It's not an orc or goblin. I could tell you that for certain. And so I ask his advice. Should we move forward? I don't like this. This isn't what
he
we're
stands
looking
there.
for.
He looks back, but then he like turns his head slowly to face frontwards. We need to get out of here as quickly as possible. And his like kind of triumph. You see any kind of heroics kind of fade from him. He whispers back to you, very cautiously. He says, "I believed them to be legend, and some say that there was a reason that orcs and goblins didn't tread in these areas. These marshes are rumored to be home to creatures called marsh dwellers. Monstrous beings loosely related to hags or trolls." And then he kind of clears his mind. "And from what we've seen thus far, this makes sense. Marsh dwellers are hoarders. They seek treasures and they have giant hoards. You said that one is dead, right?"
it is not moving and it is not breathing, and it's got very visible damage to it. Lethal looking
So
damage.
it doesn't look like an elf.
No, it doesn't look like an elf, right?
No, it doesn't at all. It's not wearing
Not
clothes. It's kind of like this like wet, white, fleshy creature. So.
Not at all. I have never seen anything like this in my journeys.
I'll leave it up to you, Master Valineth. Do we leave now and abandon any kind of hope of finding what is down here?
And I can sense the shadow. It can sense it. It's coming strongly from this direction.
Absolutely.
I'm adventurous. I'm curious because it seems like a weapon had killed this. Do I see any like of the boots, the humanoid boots of any sorts, even if it's just like a dragging motion down this way?
You do not.
Okay. I for the two of us right now, especially with the legends I've heard, I don't think this is for us. Maybe this is worth coming back with more people, but I don't want to put you in more danger than you need. You have a daughter you need to take care of and be looking out for. And that's your first priority, my friend.
And you have a friend that you're looking for as well.
I do have a friend that I'm looking for, but your safety comes before that of mine.
I've heard of legends of elves from Rivendell, but I've never pegged them for cowards.
And that kind of strikes Valineth like to the core. And he speaks up a little bit. Well, I myself am from Rivendell. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a coward, but maybe just cautiously aware. My father went missing, actually. This is the reason I'm out here. But from what I have learned in all this time, it's not cowardly to run from those things which you can't defeat. Us elves are brave, but we're not dumb, and we're not stupid. And I think with the two of us right now, especially my fighting capability as it is, I am not trained in martial combat. Definitely it seems like you are, but I don't know what I can do here. If you want to continue forward, I'll do what I can to support, but I just do not get a good feeling from this.
You said it was dead, though.
This is dead, but the thing about us elves from Rivendell is we can sense things. We can see things. We can see shadow. And there is a strong sense of that down these two tunnels down here. And I just feel like if we're coming up against anything that is shadow, I've never personally encountered anything with shadow, right? I don't think so. Personally, maybe I have.
Personally, yeah. I mean, you've like traces of shadow. Nothing like obviously like a ring wraiths or like anything like that.
I've encountered here and there. Basically, the shadow's just like evil, right? Like things that are.
But it's a more so than just orcs. There's something that is like kind of supernatural about it. And yeah, it's just kind of like this like warding feeling. You have a very supernatural sense against like wraiths, and that's not what this is. Okay. It's not like it's like the absolute evil like Witch King of Angmar. You're feeling like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But it's like you're also feeling at the same time like this is not right. But the point that Lorkhard is trying to make, he turns back and he says, "But you do realize it's dead. It's cut up. If you have a friend that's down here, and if you want it to be your father, maybe he's still here. My words might cut harshly, but as a father, I know if I lost family, I would not be giving up it so quickly. Yeah. Especially if there's a dead creature there. Those things don't gang up on each other. It's a clean cut, you said. There's something down here. There's someone down here."
Valineth thinks to himself, again, not necessarily being a man of fighting prowess himself. Again, he's lived vicariously through the stories that his father has said to him. And these words kind of strike a chord from Lorkhard. And he kind of smirks and laughs to himself. In maybe not in tone itself, but kind of do remind me a little bit of my father. And he smirks a little bit and like gets closer, goes a little bit closer to the corpse, and sees if he can see anything. So,
Sorry, guys, I keep messing up this. You go to investigate, and you reach down right below. This thing is not breathing. It is very, very dead. And you look your left and your right, and you see what look to be tombs. Both of them on your left and right are completely broken. There is no lid to them, but there is nothing inside.
okay. I ask if Lorcard. I call back to him. Lorcard, my good sir, do you have my back?
Do you have my front?
Oh, of course I do, my friend. And kind of like a little bit of an exciting, adventuring spirit kind of getting inside of him. This is like one of those stories that his father told him. In a sense, he's never really experienced anything like this, so he's kind of excited. He's got a little bit of a little pep to upset, but also very cautious too. He's not going to just go and go full guns a-blazing. So he's going to gradually make his way forward. He's actually going to lower his bow. He's going to put it back on his back, resheath his arrow, and he's going to ready his dagger at the belt, I think, for more like melee combat if he has to get to it. So he's going to do that, and then he's going to creep forward little by little, taking a look at each of these tombs as he goes by.
There is a body in front of you. Are you just going to walk over the body?
Well, I'm gonna walk around it. Again, I see that it's not moving and it's dead, and obviously it's just chilling here. I'm gonna call back. Watch your step, my friends. Make sure that you're not disturbing anything you don't have to, and we'll take it at our own pace. There's no need for us to rush, and we're just gonna little by little.
You slowly, little by little, you make your way. You didn't see anything initially in your first kind of look at the tombs. One of the tombs, the one on the bottom, was completely sealed. But the other one was open and broken. You continuously walk through, and each of them, you notice that the vast majority of are open, with the exception of obviously this one down here and this one at the top here. And there is actually at the end here, it's not a tomb itself, but more of, it's not a tomb itself, but kind of like a placard of like a here lies, but it's so worn that you cannot read like the names that are on here. It's completely almost lost to history.
I take my torch. Is it broken, the tomb, or like the placard kind of thing that's
No,
there?
the placard's completely intact, but like it's been eroded so bad just by time that any kind of engravements are very difficult to see.
Okay. Is there anything that looks potentially disturbed in the area that I could check respectfully, of course, if there's like any dead bodies, or does it seem like everything down here is just kind of just time worn, like there's nothing really to like take a look at? It's just a dead end.
Well, there's nothing down here. If you want to look in either of the crypts, you could move the lid of this crypt and take a look in there, or you can look inside the empty crypt. There's not a whole lot for this to look at, as again, it's pretty.
Yeah, I'm gonna do an elvish blessing that I would normally know for like burial rites, and I'm actually gonna peek into the one that's already open and see if I can see anything.
You peek into it, and you can see what look to be the remains of a couple of bones.
Okay.
But there is no fleshiness of any kind, but it looks like whatever's here has been long either decayed or just gone for some reason.
Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to the other tomb and start making a opening it a little bit, seeing if I can decipher, more so just to decipher if there's potentially more of these things that are in the hallway that are in these tombs, kind of thing. Just trying to be careful about things.
So you're going to try to open the lid?
Open the lid, but also how am I feeling about like my sensing? Is it like worse here than it was back towards the entrance?
It's pretty bad. No, it's not any worse. Like it's basically just like coming from this general vicinity.
Okay. Well, yeah, he's gonna like again do his best to be respectful, but open up the tomb so he can see if there's any one of these gross things.
Make an athletics check for me.
Oh my gosh. Athletics. I don't know how athletic I am. I'm not very. Oh, yeah, that's not bad. 13.
13. You open the tomb and you open the crypt a little bit, and you're able to barely slide it without letting it like fall completely off. You would honestly be pretty hopeless to try to put this thing back on if it fell completely off.
Yeah.
And you peek inside, and it looks to be the remains of a humanoid-looking skeleton. Okay. But from the looks of it, it looks dwarvish.
Dwarvish. Interesting. I call back to lore card. So tell me a little bit more about this city, my friend. Was this a human dwelling? Was this a dwarvish dwelling? What kind of people lived here?
There were plenty of people who lived here back in days long lost. When the dwarves were in the Lonely Mountain in the Erabor, and also traveling farther south, there was a lot of trade in the area. Obviously, the Long Lake and the river running brings a lot of trade. It would not surprise me if dwarves were in this area, or also human mixtures. This could have been a town where trade happened before it got flooded. But to be honest, I am not quite sure.
I see that. Anything of interest that gives me any clues that I can see really quickly before I attempt to cover retomb this guy?
Nothing that you can see.
Okay, I'm gonna attempt to pull it back, like set down my torch, pull it back over, so it respectfully is covering him again.
And you do so. You do so. It's a little bit noisy as you do it, but you're able to do it.
Cool. Well, I meet back with him. I walk back towards the lore card and show what I said, and I said, "There's no signs of anything living down here at the very least. I don't know what we should do. Should we explore the other one?"
You didn't see anything down on that other end, did you?
I saw a placard, but the names were very weathered and ruined. I didn't see anything aside from just tombs.
There are a few places to check. If maybe we could peer down the hallways of each of those other places and see if there are anything, just to, kind of get our bases so we're not surprised at any point from. We kind of can get a bearing of kind of the terrain that we're dealing with.
Cool. And in a similar fashion, I think we're going to go towards that north one. Just make our way cautiously. He's covering my back. I'm covering his front. I have my dagger out in front of me with my torch.
So you've investigated these
the middle
two,
one, right?
The middle one and the one below it, actually. Okay. There is a upper one up top here, and then there's two on the left side, kind of towards the top.
Okay, we'll make our way counterclockwise. So we'll start with the top, I guess.
Up here.
Yeah.
All right, so you continuously go over here, and your eyes are kind of starting to adjust to this darkness. But something is interesting as you approach this kind of entranceway. This entranceway is very finely adorned. Like the stone craft that's around it is actually very fine. Like it's all dwarven stonework, which is why it's lasted for as long as it has. But this has some very elegant carvings inside. And I'm gonna have what languages do you know?
Well, I think I have a general understanding, being a Rivendell elf, of everything. However, my actual written languages that's in my description, right?
It's at the very bottom left of your page, character page.
Okay, very bottom left. Quayan, Quenya, Sindarin, and Westeron.
Okay, so you are not going to be able to read these. They do look dwarvish, and they are secretive, as it were, but you have no way of being able to know what it is saying. So you do have like your ability to kind of understand most things of like what people are saying.
It's spoken though, right?
But it's spoken. It's not the written word.
Okay. Well, I look back to, wow, this seems super, way more fancy, I should say. And it seems dwarvish in nature. I, unfortunately, in all my years here, have never learned to read such a thing. Do you happen to know the language of the dwarves?
Language of the dwarves, they keep that between themselves. It's a secret language that they only use with their own kin. Yes, dwarves do venture to Esgaroth quite often, and we see them in lots of trade, but no one could ever hope to read dwarvish runes.
Why, of course. Well, I think this is probably a good place to start. It looks definitely much more important than some of the other ones. Not saying the other ones aren't. However, maybe this will give us the best clues we have. And I make my way under the door.
This one is interesting because it descends, where the other ones are just straight crypts, like kind of tombs. This one actually has a staircase that you are now beginning to descend.
Okay. Well, we gradually descend, I guess, in the same kind of fashion and order that we did last time. So.
So you descend. It's about 10 feet downwards, and you find yourself into a relatively open room. But it looks like, again, worn away to time. You can tell that there was vaguely some kind of, at some point in time, wood. Because you can see what look to be like wooden debris that is on the ground between these pillars. It's completely open on the sides and around. But it like with the amount of time that has passed, it's actually pretty amazing because it's been pretty still in here, not a whole lot of weathering. So the fact that there's still wood remaining, you can tell it's quite old and probably original to the building. But I'm going to have you make an investigation check as you explore further.
Okay, not bad. That's a 16.
16. You look in, and what you can tell that this actually used to be some kind of wine cellar. A very fancy, nice, kind of rich wine. Obviously, that's way gone. Any kind of barrels that held any wine had that. And part of the reason you could tell that it was that is the smell. It's pretty refined, and from what you can tell, it's the smell of elven wine. Probably from Woodland Hall, from what you can tell.
Okay. I relay that information. Man, I think this is a wine cellar. This seems to be the wine of my kin from the Woodland realm. I wonder why this is doing here among a bunch of tombs. And I look even more. I'm looking like for fresh footprints, dragging prints, anything that I've normally been noticing through here.
Yep, you noticed actually going down the stairs, there is a smattering of dirt and mud, and it looks relatively fresh. You make your way down and kind of into the room, and there are some footprints that you can tell. Again, the ground is continuously moist, so you can't really tell how fresh it is, like from there. But peering down at the very far end, you do see a figure slumped against the wall.
Is it humanoid, from what I can tell?
Yeah, it's definitely humanoid.
Okay, I make my way slowly, and I'm like, oh, I think there's someone down here. And like as quickly as possible, like elven dexterously as I can, as much as I can be, make my way closer and closer to him. Still being cautious though, making sure to check my sides, make sure I'm not getting like ambushed or anything. But as quickly as possible. But like I'm trying to notice if this man or creature is still breathing first and foremost. If there's any life.
As you approach, the first thing you notice is one, it is wearing clothes. It does not look to be any of those creatures that you saw. And as you grow closer, you actually see what look to be a couple more fleshless bodies at the feet of this creature. They also look dead.
Okay. I kind of gasp a little bit. I'm like, oh, this poor soul. And I like don't kind of disregard them. I don't even look to see. I just look that they kind of look similar to the ones below. And I see that this is like a human. And so I approach quickly, actually, just like that nature in me. Exciting. Does it look elvish in a way?
It's got a hood drawn over the top, and actually in its right hand, it has what looks to be some kind of quill in his hand. And in his left hand is a dagger, and laying on his lap looks to be some kind of scratch paper, parchment looking something.
Well, first thing I do is I actually check to see if he's alive. So I like take pulse, do all this kind of stuff.
Make a medicine check for me.
Nat 20. Nat
Ooh,
20.
baby.
That's a nat 20. Thank gosh.
There is a very, very light pulse.
Okay. Well, I don't waste any time, and I start preparing all of my things. I don't even like bother with the paper and the quill and all that kind of stuff. Like I know it's there, but I'm just trying to save this man's life or elf's life or whatever it is. So I will go through my bag and use my Hands of the Healer trait that I have.
So for those of you who don't know, that's his main thing that he has. He is a healer, as it were, using his elvish magic. And as you put your hand upon his face, pull back his hood, you can tell this is an elf. This is not an elf of Rivendell. However, he is wearing a Rivendell cloak. This is an elf of the woodland realm. And he has kind of almost a more reddish hair. And definitely is probably older than you, for sure.
I call over to a lore card really quick. I'm like, "Do you recognize this elf?"
He takes a glance and he looks kind of warily at the bodies that are at the feet of the elf, and he says, "Yeah, that's it."
Perfect. All right, that's what I wanted to know. And I start doing my work as much as I can on him.
So you do your Hands of a Healer, which essentially what that is as opposed to like D&D where it's like magic. Yes, there's like healing elf magic kind of, but that's really really skilled healers that do that.
I'm not.
But it's kind of more like physician's work. So you go and you kind of not necessarily strip him down, but like you look to see like where any wounds are, and the things that you see, there are many bite wounds, deep bite wounds. There are definitely what you can tell were claw marks that gouged pretty, and you could tell he did everything in his power to try to bandage them up, and a couple of them are looking real bad, very much kind of like gushing, almost like a blackish goo. You can tell like open and next to him on the side is his pack, and you can tell he's just been surviving on any kind of basically he's just been like trying to live as long as possible on the stuff that he had packed with him.
Gotcha.
And he had pretty much run out of stuff to eat. He didn't go as far as to eating the marsh dwellers that are on either side, but like he's a man who's starving. He's a man whose wounds have not healed properly, or elf whose wounds have not healed properly, and he is paler than you could ever imagine. You begin to work your magic. You begin.
Is he unconscious, by the way?
He's very much unconscious.
Okay. Anyways.
You begin to start doing some healing, and you pull kind of some poultices out of like your bag, and you start clearing up some of the wounds. You take your knife and you begin starting cleaning out wounds too. And it like you don't see any kind of flinch back by him at all. Like he's pretty far gone seemingly, but as long as there's still that pulse, you still are doing everything that you can to work it through.
Should I roll it?
Go ahead and roll.
Okay, it's a D8 plus my wisdom, right? Okay. Well, not bad. That is a 4 plus. Is it my modifier or is it my skill check?
Wisdom modifier.
Wisdom modifier. Okay. So that's a 3. So that's 7.
7.
Yeah.
You begin and you kind of start stitching him up a little bit. You take your time. You're spending. Oh, so actually, I'm going to say that you're spending about 10 minutes doing this. So one of the things that you can do with this is it turns into 2d8 at that point.
All right.
Because you're taking time to use your Hands of the Healer. It's not like quick, like, oh, I'm just preparing you.
That is 5 for that second one.
So basically what
Total
it is it's your
13.
It's your roll. I think it's your roll. It might be your roll times 2. So 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I think it's 11.
Okay. Yeah, it's that. Okay, cool. Okay. So 11 total. Yep.
11 total. You heal him up, and all of a sudden he starts taking shallow breaths, and his eyes barely peek open a little bit, and
Oh, I multiply it by my proficiency modifier.
Which is 2, I think.
Oh, that's 2. Okay, yeah, sorry. Disrupting the beautiful moment.
It's okay. And from his eyes, he can only see what looks to be an angelic glow. It's this kind of like, think of like the Lord of the Rings when like Frodo sees Arwen, and like she's coming closer, like obviously the film, but comes close and sees Arwen, and this kind of like angelic figure is there, and this is your elf aura, specifically your high elf aura. Most elves don't have this, and so your high elf aura that brings kind of like this like kind of elf lord light to them, and he's just like, and he's speaking in Sindarin,
which I understand.
Is this real?
My brother, it seems like we come just in the nick of time, and I kind of sit him up. I take out some of my rations, my elven bread that I do have, and I gently start to like break it apart and start to feed him little by little. I take out whatever liquid I have. I'm assuming I have water or some sorts with me as well. Start like cleaning his wounds, obviously, but also like gingerly feeding him the water and the bread. I'm like, it's okay now. It's okay now. We're here. In fact, you might know this man over here. You can thank him for bringing me here. And I gesture over to Lorcard.
And the Lorcard, he nods and says, told you I should have come with you. And you're a lucky man that I brought the right person here for you. And the elf, he goes, indeed, friend. And he looks at you, Valineth, up, and he says, I had almost given up hope completely. I was ready for the light to take me. I would have given anything just to see the light of the stars again. And because of you, hopefully I can see many more years of them.
I kind of give a smile, kind of feeling like in himself, like Valineth, as an elf, he's kind of felt useless his whole life, and I think this is kind of one of those points for him that kind of strikes him deep down. But he smiles and he's like, well, my good sir, in the words of my father, hope is never but a leap away. So, my friend, I'm glad you held on hope, and hopefully we can make you live another day. And I continue to tend to his wounds and make sure he's well fed and drinking what he needs to drink. And
you clean him up enough, and you feed him, and you give him like enough to be able to like actually have the energy to move, which this is pretty incredible. You've done really good work on this guy. And he kind of sits up against the wall, and he pulls his like bag that's close to him, and he says, you're a healer, right?
Well, more of a scholar, I'd like to say, but I mean, I have dabbled in the medicines myself in my short 777 years here. I mean, there's a little bit that I've learned, that's for sure.
In the woodland realm, we have healing too. We use all kinds of herbs, poultices. We forage for it. Here. And he pulls something out of his bag. Go ahead and add to your inventory herbalist kit.
Oh. Cool. Herbalist kit.
And it's not much. As a thanks for your help. He also pulls out two kind of weeds. These are very familiar to you. They're called Athelis Kingsfoil. They're healing herbs that basically it's like the kind of equivalent to a potion. All you need to do is use that herbalist kit. And you can transform these into healing herbs to use on yourself and your allies. I was too weak to be able to use them on myself. I hope they serve you well. And one more thing. And he pulls out this kind of... It's very interesting. It's almost kind of like this, another weed, but like a water plant. This is called hagweed. This staves off any kind of corruption. Take it. Please.
And I kindly accept them. And with my herbalist kit, have I encountered anything like this? Sorry, this is a lore master question in my time. Like, obviously, I'm sure I know what King's Foil is. I'm sure I know what
absolutely.
all these are. And do I know how to use it?
You
even
do.
though...
But you didn't have an herbalist kit. So you need an herbalist kit in order to refine them. And so by having that herbalist kit now, you basically can take an action and turn them into usable items, essentially.
Well, I'm going to do so. As I'm doing so, I'm going to ask the man, okay, my fine friend here, I know that you've been through a lot, and of course, take your time with it. By no means do we expect you to tell us your entire tale. But what has happened here? And this is, as I'm making it, making sure that I'm doing it properly, but still listening closely and carefully about his adventure.
I'm desperate. Just a desperate elf. King Thranduil. He sent me here. While the goblins and orcs have fled into the deep depths of the forest and into the mountains and back into their deep pits where they hide, there are those who wish to claim power in Wilderland. There's a wicked man by the name of Vigeland. He's been gathering followers in northern Mirkwood. And he's been capturing people, Beornings, and fellow elves, using them as thralls for his evil deeds. He claims to be a king among men. And this is no man. He's menacing. Huge beyond belief. With muscles that deter blades. Thranduil sent me here, because rumor has it there's a weapon that we could have used against him. No such thing existed here. No such thing but reeking death and tainted gold.
I look back at what's his name? Lorcard. You hear that, buddy? Seems like we're not gonna be finding what you were looking for out here. And I look at his pockets. Do you still want that?
Make a persuasion check at advantage for me.
5 and a 3.
Where I come from, gold is gold. I don't plan to have it long. And he looks at the elf. Tainted, you say? How so? My dear friend, wealth has a way of corrupting the hearts of mortals. Has an even more powerful effect on us, fair folk. He looks to you, Valineth.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell me you did not touch a single coin in that tainted gold.
I did not. I actually was. Don't get me wrong, I was tempted. But the voice of my father, I heard in the back of my mind. And in reality, here on things in Middle-earth, gold is gold. And I was here for something else. I was here for you, in fact. I'm glad I found you, my friend. And then he gives he finishes preparing the herbs and stuff and starts applying the king's foil to him and making sure that he's doing okay. Was I also preparing the hagweed?
You
Was
are.
he corrupted?
He. Who?
The elf that we found.
Elf was not corrupted.
Okay, so I prepared it and stuff and
Okay.
kept it, I guess. And he only needs one Kingsfoil, right? He doesn't need both of them. Or does he need both of them?
Who?
The elf.
You healed him pretty good.
Oh, okay, all right, never mind. I'm just putting him in my thing then. Okay, cool, sounds good. And as I finish preparing and stuff, I'm glad I found you. Are you able to stand?
I think so. And he stands up, and you can tell, like, it's kind of like that, like, super dead leg syndrome, where it's, like, asleep legs and everything, and the strength is kind of returning to him, but he can't move a whole lot without a ton of help.
Well, I think we can help you here. Is there anything we should know before we get out of this godforsaken place? Anything
This
to be
place
careful of?
is a place of evil.
I can tell. I've been sensing it the entire time I've been here.
But it is a place of lost memory, too. I do think that good will come to this place in time. And seemingly as I killed off the last of these creatures before they got to me, I think for a time being, this place will go undisturbed. I do pray, though, do not go spreading rumors about what lies beneath here. I've seen dragon sickness. I've seen it wreak havoc on the dwarves, on men, and my kin. This gold in the hands of the wrong people could be very, very bad indeed.
I can already see that, my friend. Don't worry. Your secret's safe with me. And I look over to Lorcard. Lorcard, are your secrets safe with us? Is that correct, my friend? You have enough to live for a long time, my friend. I think you've kind of had your fill, and I think it's time to let go. No good can come of this, and you've seen what. And Valineth gestures to the dead beings that are in front of him and stuff. I think we saw it. It was great. It was magnificent. But at the same time, life moves on, and life is more important, my friend. And you have a wonderful daughter to get back to.
Make one more persuasion check for me, this time at advantage.
I'm still gonna roll like natural ones and stuff. Hey, that's not bad. That's a 14 and a 2. So 14 I'll take.
14. He looks down at his pockets, and he empties them onto the ground. I've blamed myself for quite some time. It was my poverty, it was my lack of strength that drove my daughter away. My loss of standing with the guard, my pride, everything. I just think I stopped being a dad at some point. A good father. I can blame this leg of mine all that I want. I can blame all of my... I don't know. Seeing you two here, two of the fair folk, I think it puts things into perspective. Things that even Dragonfire can't teach.
Valineth smiles to himself. And yet I'm the one here who should be saying the same exact thing. Before today's adventure, I hadn't really had an adventure. Yes, I've been out and on the road for the last few years. However, it's been all in search of something. And I never have had anyone to share it with. In fact, I've always pictured about going on these wonderful adventures with someone, my father, of course. And Valineth pulls out his journal and kind of slightly like flips through some of them and just like to himself just kind of like reads through them and smiles. I've always wanted to go on an adventure with my father. And this is the closest I've gotten. You've given me something today. I don't think you should be so hard on yourself as a father. I think you do genuinely care for your daughter. I do think you genuinely care for those around you. But I'm happy at the very least that I could share in this adventure with you, and I'm happy at the very least that we can save my kindred here.
Life is a precious thing. Indeed, indeed. And he kind of thinks to himself and mumbles off a little bit. But I do think that this place also has no use for us anymore, and we've came what we've looked for. Shall we?
I think we shall. And I help the elf up, him under my armpit. Is he taller than me? I don't know how big he is, but...
No, he's a little bit shorter, actually. You have a little bit of a higher stature. And he feels very skinny. So, like, you clearly, this guy's been a starving elf, too.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm gonna have him use the Rivendell cloak, and I'm actually gonna kind of tie him to my back, you know, like they do like on the baby strollers, you know, or like the mothers do with like babies. It's kind of light, you know. Yeah, you gotta swim through stuff, and he's like not looking good, so.
He doesn't do a whole lot. Like, you give him the directions, and he basically does what he's told, and he seems grateful. As you make your way out, though, I'm gonna have you make a an athletics check for me.
14.
Yeah, you're able to do it. With a little bit of help, actually, from Locard, you guys make your way out down under the water, and it's only a few yards that you have to swim. And then you pop out, and it is the dead of night. You could definitely hear crickets and chirps out in the marshes, and the torch that was there originally is still there, kind of with like the lantern oil kind of ready to be reignited and to dry enough at least to be reignited and ready for your adventure back. You make your way out of the marshes without too much difficulty back to the barge, and you and Valineth, Locard, start kind of using both of your strength to row against the river running, all the way back to all the way back to Lake Town. And once you hit the lake, it gets a little bit better, and you kind of just start drifting into the dock. And upon arrival there, you are actually greeted by the two individuals that you had gotten the boat from. And they're like, "You said a couple of days. Back already?"
Why, I didn't think we would come across our fellow companions so quickly. But you know what? Keep the change. Get out of the boat.
They kind of scoff, like kind of muttering to themselves, "Oh, that guy looks the worst for wear." Yeah, right. And they just kind of go on their business. Lorkhard, he gets off and he says, "Well, I might as well lead you back to the inn." And he looks down to kind of his coin purse. I would like to pay for your stay if you would allow me to do so, at least for a night.
I actually looked to my elf companion, and I said, "Do you have any place to stay, my good sir? While you're here, to heal up?"
Not anywhere here. And he thinks, goes over and over in his head, like, but there are rumors that perhaps in Dale there's a house of healers where maybe I can finally rest up. The woodland realm is good and all, but unfortunately they're being stressed thin because of Vigland. Dale is prospering, and I hear that there are fair good folk with medicine there. If it's all the same to you, I'll be heading there in the morn, but..." And then he looks at Lorkhard and he says, "For your troubles, and for your help, but most of all for your friendship, And he reaches into his bag and he pulls out a pouch. And in the pouch, what looks to be a couple gold coins, but a decent amount of silver coins as well. Take
Nice.
this. For your family. For your daughter. And from what you've told me, while you guys were on the raft, you guys kind of went over his story a little bit about talking about Dale, and he was talking about his heroics and kind of trying to take the mind off the pain that this elf was going through. If you really are in need, swallow your pride. Go to King Bard. He shall welcome you amongst his people, or better yet, at least recognize you in some way for what you've done for your people here, the Long Lake. It's worth a shot. And he speaks, and he turns to you. My name is Haleth. And if you would do so, Valineth, if you would accompany me to Dale, I'd be more than happy to have a companion such as you.
Took the words right out of my mouth, my friend. I wasn't about to let a patient go make that journey all by himself. If it suits you well, I think we'll get a room at the inn for the night. I'll continuously check in on you throughout the night if you need anything. I'll be in the next room over. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Good to me, friend. Right. And Valineth, or not Valineth, oh my gosh, it's you. Lorkhard, he chimes in. And wait, Valineth, I do wish you luck with your friend. And he reaches into his bag and he pulls out this leather-looking, almost arm guard. I haven't, through the years, kept a lot of my treasures. This one, I'm not sure if it's worth anything, to be quite honest, but I did come across it years ago out of a trade with some merchants prior to the downfall of Smaug. It served me pretty good. But if it can serve you in your journey to help find your father, I'd be more than happy to give it to you.
And I will take it as a gesture of friendship, eternal friendship, may I add, and may many, many wonderful years come ahead of you. And I actually look through my bag as well. I take out my ink pen, a little bit of ink as well, and I write him a note that says, if you do happen to pass by the western lands of over by Rivendell on the other side of the Misty Mountains, you are always welcome here, my friend. Just show this to Master Elrond or anyone of the escort, and he will let you in for a nice, wonderful rest. And signs his name, gives him a little just note about it, and just hands it over. Again, this lasts as long as you are alive. Us elves, a human's life is a blink of an eye over here. However, you are as much a friend of mine as you are of Master Elrond's and everyone in Rivendell. So, I exchange.
The promise of another adventure. Perhaps these bones of mine have a little bit left in them for another journey. And you guys exchange kind of your goods. I'm going to have you make a traditions check as he hands this over.
That's a 20. Not natural 20, but 20.
Yeah. He hands over this leather, what looks to be a vambrace. And you can make out what looks this is really brilliant, like very fine leather. And etched in actually silver on the logo is the sigil of Numenor. And that is where we are going to end our one-off session.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for everyone else, the other characters, to do this. Oh, that was so heart-wrenching the entire time. Oh my gosh, good lessons, guys. That's the one thing I think this will teach us. The world of Middle-earth and the world of Lord of the Rings, there's so many lessons to be found in every little part of it. And oh my gosh, it's the best way to end my Wednesdays, I'll tell you. So thank you, Kyle. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no, it was a lot of fun. And like I'm really glad too that you were able to actually show off like your healing skills and like all that. That's super cool, like very, and that wasn't necessarily planned per se. It was depending on how everything went and what you were able
I
to
might
do.
have freaking left the dude in there. Thank goodness for what's his bucket? Low card. I was literally debating about just leaving. Like, what the heck is going on here after sensing that evil? So thank you, lower card.
And again, kind of as Dain was mentioning, like for players and people watching, how do you deal with like these things of your life? Like what does it mean to be courageous? What does it mean to be smart too? Because I think of Valineth was very, I think, justified in his thoughts, where it's like, I sensing this evil, like I need to just get the heck out of here, and it was in a good, a good means of like, I want to like protect you, Lorkhard, to be able to, serve your daughter at some point. Like, I don't want you to just die here in the marshes and just leave her. And so, like, again, like, but there's all kinds of fun banter, and the role play is really fun too. And ultimately, like, I can steer something in a direction, but it's completely up to the players, like which direction that they're able to go. And so it's really fun to be able to see that, and brotherly love, and being able to help out another elf in need. So exciting.
Yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely wonderful story. And again, like I said, a great way to end my Wednesday. I hope those of you in the audience also really enjoyed. I know it's a little bit different than our normal 7 p.m. streams. But again, we do this twice a month for Everlast anyway. Speaking of which, we have session 18 this Saturday, which is going to be really fun. So come join us for that. But if you can't, this is kind of a little bit of a taste of Everlast. Like, it's just you're able to be here and enjoy a story along with us. Again, here at Fantasy Forge Studios, we don't just pride ourselves on the camaraderie in the community, but we also want to teach beautiful life lessons. And I think tabletop RPGs are wonderful places to be able to do so.
Yeah, it's super easy to go into the whole murder hobo and just like, ranting or like going through and causing trouble. But, like here at Fantasy Forge, not only do we want you to have the 10 out of 10 on your day, but we want you to walk away with something valuable and those life lessons. And, hopefully you feel like a better person leaving these sessions.
Yeah. And I will say, I guarantee you there's not going to be, like, every session's not going to be left on a positive note. But again, like Kyle was saying, it's all about those life lessons that are learned.
But it's about the choices too, because it might not have gone off on a positive note too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
true. Very true. Oh man, imagine if my character died session 1. Not even like pre-session.
I know your HP looks scary low, but you also have companions and stuff to be able to help you. So don't worry about it. Like you might be a scholar and you might only have one attack, but you had Lorkhard and he didn't get a chance to show his skills. And FYI,
his trick leg.
There were planned combats in this. If you didn't know. Nice. It just, you didn't activate any of the triggers to trigger those combats. Just
I rolled well when it mattered. I feel like it rolled horribly the entire time, but it's
yeah, exactly. So it is what it is. But
yeah, and those of you who are wondering why you saw like a dice going across the screen, one thing that's kind of cool about this campaign too, all of the dice rolls, at least for all of us, are going to be broadcast and stuff. So like, you can rest assured all the rolls we do are legit rolls,
or at least broadcast amongst the party and myself. Like I'll be able to see that. Maybe you guys not so much because of like the overlays and that kind of stuff, but we'll be able to see it. So you'll know that we're staying honest with these rolls. So it's not just
it truly is fate. It truly is whatever the. I mean, as it should be, I think. I think there's often, like, some incentive, though, in a lot of tabletop RPGs, like, occasionally to fudge a roll, especially when we're all, like, separate in different places. I think that's kind of easy. So I'm glad that we're able to do this and, again, keep things honest, and it's just going to be a great time. Yeah, I look forward to it. A couple of announcements before we do get going, Kyle. Is that okay if we do that? Do you have time? All right, so for those of you who are still with us, thank you for for sticking around, and thank you for the story. I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, this is going to be every Wednesday, so it's extra streams for us to be able to enjoy. So stop by if you are free to be able to do so. As far as the plans for the rest of the week, how's it going, FX? Yes, you're just back in time for announcements. By the way, how's your Chinese going? I saw you're posting some kanji back in the day, or back up there. Scary
Kanjigawa
stuff indeed.
Karimasen.
It's fine. The second kanji is kawaii for like scary. I don't know what the first one is, but it's like, oh, scary. It's kind of like the impression I get from it. Anyways, yes, announcement time. So really quickly. So I didn't realize it before this week. Friday is our 2-year anniversary here on Twitch, stream anniversary. I technically had the account for a while, but when I first started making videos and first started making streams 2 years ago, February 10th, I started off with The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and we haven't looked back since. I've loved that game. It's an amazing game. I do want to get back to it at some point. However, that being the case, we're having an extra special stream on Friday. Again, tomorrow we're going to be doing our normal stuff. We're going to be doing some Fire Emblem Engage, which is super amazing, super fun. I was so bummed. Mouse Guy came yesterday. I apologize for that. He was running late because of the weather and appointments and stuff, but we're going to be getting back to some Fire Emblem Engage tomorrow, and then Friday we're actually going to be starting 2 hours earlier than we normally do. So I normally start at 7 p.m. Japan Standard Time. We're going to be starting at 5 p.m. Japan Standard Time, and we're going to be going an extra hour. We're going to be going till midnight my time, so I guess that's like 2 extra hours. So what is that? That's 5, 6, 7 hours, which for me that's a long stream, especially after a long day of work. But we're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. Again, feel free to join the Discord, guys, if you're not part of the Discord. I am taking suggestions on what you want me to see. I was thinking about doing maybe some showcasing some of the games we played in the past. Another option we could do is starting off with a couple of the games we're currently playing, so I could, I don't know, finish one of the games that we haven't finished yet. And there's a couple of those that we haven't finished yet. So if that seems interesting to you guys, maybe we can do that. We could play some Genshin Impact. We could play some I don't know, Fire Emblem Engage, since we missed it on Tuesday. We could also go back and like dip our toes in some other things that we haven't necessarily done. Again, keep in mind, it won't be an actual long series. So again, the shorter the better, if that makes sense. Or just if something that's fun to dip our toes in. But also the big vast chunk of it, as we normally do on Fridays, is community streams and community games. So we're going to be doing some Jackbox games. So we're going to be starting with Jackbox Party Pack 5, and then if we have time, we'll move on to Party Pack 6 and then Party Pack 4. So again, just some more community stuff. That's what we normally do on Fridays. Anyways.
That's cool.
For sure. Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be sort of just extra long stuff. Again, I'll get back to Friday itself. Cole and Max will also be streaming. They're going to be doing some Cuphead. So Adventures of Cuphead. There are some of our American streamers that we have here. So they stream our time Saturday mornings at 11:30 a.m. Japan Standard Time. So whatever that time is for you guys, Saturday morning, it's technically Friday night at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time in America on Friday. So technically it's a Friday stream. However, for me and all of us on this side of the world, it is technically Saturday. So come and join them for that. They're super fun. They're super cool, and they just really enjoy living life, and they should die quite a bit in Cuphead for sure. So join them for that. And then of course this Saturday we have session 18 of Everlast Adventures. Again, our tabletop RPG creating by none other than Kyle, our lore master here. It's his own original tabletop RPG that we are producing here at Fantasy Forge Studios. So come join. If you liked this tabletop RPG, it seemed interesting to you, or if you're just interested in a brand new game that's coming out that's very well established as well. All the party members are very, very comfortable with our characters, and we're in the middle of our adventure. Come and join us for some exciting adventure for sure. Going back to Friday, we actually do have a new sponsor here on the channel. I know they're hard to come by, but we have one. So a small family business here in Japan, located in Tokyo, called Dain Snacky, has reached out to us for a sponsorship. Hey, thanks, Noom. I'm glad you're on top of it. For a sponsorship opportunity. They're a brand new family business, and again, their whole goal is to spread Japanese goodies, Japanese culture with a fancy style added to it. I'm probably butchering it. Kyle, do you have a more eloquent way to say it than I do?
So they're Japanese food with like Japanese snacks, treats, but they're like luxury. And so you have your there's like typical stuff you can find at like Asian markets like around the world, like your typical Kit Kats, like that kind of stuff. But what they actually provide is stuff that's very difficult to find outside of Japan. And they have a bunch of different kinds of boxes. They have their omakase box, which is their signature box. Yep. And that's kind of like a random mishmash of various sizes. So I think it goes from 20 all the way to 60 pieces. Various price ranges. I think that's good for most people. And then they also have their omakase looks box.
I also know that a few people have already gone out. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I've been notified actually by the owners of the company, and they reached out to me and they're like, "We had a couple people who actually came from your stream. That's amazing. That's awesome." So those of you who have been some of their first customers to be able to come, they're super excited to send out your packages towards you. Hopefully, they get to you in a timely manner. They'll do their best. Of course, they're a small family business. Very small family business, but I can guarantee you the quality is going to be there, and they're going to be super fun, unique things. But those are some omakase boxes that were bought, which is awesome.
Yes,
So
super awesome. And those are pretty cool. Like, I'm pretty interested in them too, and all that. And then they have an omakase looks box, which my wife would be a huge fan of, which is like department store like snacks. So essentially like really fancy high end. Think of like the manju, the mochis, the like tea ceremony stuff that you would get for that, like really high quality stuff. They have a box of that, and then again, I think there's 2 sizes for that one, and then they have
there's 2 sizes, and they're really good price. Like, we'll talk about the price in a little bit, but oh my gosh, like, I'm just dumbfounded by like how good of value they are. But continue, Kyle. Continue.
Yes, and then they have a character box, so they're kawaii box, and so right now they have like 4 featured character boxes, which are Pokemon, Sanrio, Disney, and Nintendo.
Nintendo. By the way, guys, speaking of Nintendo box, since it is our 2-year anniversary, I will be giving away on stream on Friday a Nintendo goods box. So I'll be paying for it, and basically we're going to be having a raffle. Every hour that you guys are here, the more you can submit, the more votes you can submit to be able to get this box. So every hour on the hour, those votes will keep adding up,
and so it's a $100 value too.
It's a $100 value, so it's a really good value. Yes, they're a small family business, so I am paying for it out of my own pocket. You're welcome. No, it's a big thing. It's a 2-year anniversary, and I mean, here in Japan we have amazing like Nintendo goods. But the cool thing about these character boxes, these kawaii boxes that they have official licensed merchandise. So, for example, in the Nintendo box, they'll have official licensed merchandise from the Nintendo store itself, as well as a bunch of like different variety of goods that are like Nintendo themed and snacks and that kind of stuff as well that you can get here in Japan. But we're gonna be giving away a Nintendo box, which is really, really cool. So again, the longer you're here and the more time you're able to enjoy with us during our stream, the more likely you will to be able to win the raffle kind of thing. So we're gonna be doing that at the end of the stream, obviously. So stick around for that. It's gonna be a great time. And again, it's a $100 value that you don't have to pay a dime for. The one thing I will say, I will be asking you to provide me your information, your mailing information, all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind when you want to do it. I do need, obviously, your shipping information to be able to provide to them when they have it. I'll be buying it, but I got to provide that to them. So if the privacy is a concern, you can rest assured that it's not going anywhere. I'm literally just going to be sending it to the company and deleting it. I'm not going to have it or anything. So I will be asking for that. So just so you know, that's going to be a thing. But it's a wonderful opportunity for you guys to be able to get one of these freaking luxury items for free, and just to be able to enjoy with the community. So
yeah, and then they have seasonal boxes too, which those change. I believe there's a couple of days left in the Valentine's box. They did actually notify us saying like it is late enough where you might not get like the Valentine's Day box by Valentine's Day, especially
depending on where you are in the world.
Right.
Depending on where you are in the world.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but it is coming close to that. So they have a couple of days left in their Valentine's Day boxes.
Yeah.
And then
Friday's
they also
the last day.
Today, and then they also have the I believe the Sakura box coming up.
Yeah.
Their pre-orders are available for March, and so like Sakura like season snacks and everything, and that's gonna run all the way, I believe, through May, maybe beginning of May. I'm not sure, but yeah. So they have like a spring kind of seasonal box, and like again, really fun seasonal springtime like themed sweets. So
Cole, you bought a box. Sorry, I'm sorry to do. I just saw Cole bought a box. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Again, it goes to supporting small family business. If you put forged in the memo section at the end, then I appreciate it as well, my friend. But if not, that's fine. You're supporting a small family business. The thing about the Nintendo box is it's different than the omakase box. So it's different things. So you don't have to worry about it being similar. You get a box. If you potentially win the Nintendo box, it's more goodies that you get. So
yeah, so it's gonna be good. It's gonna be a party. But yeah, so they're really great and amazing people. You don't have to worry about like, oh, are they legit?
They're super legit.
Yeah,
they're super legit.
So
I've known them for quite some time, and they've been wanting to do it for a little while, actually. just something like this, but they've just like they didn't have that starting springboard. I mean, we all know like starting your own business is very intimidating, and you can kind of doubt yourself too. Will anyone actually buy these boxes? But I think it's one of those things that I think the rest of the world would love to experience, especially because it is so unique and you can get some very exclusive items that you can only get here in Japan. If you don't have the money to go to Japan, this is the next best thing to get some of the goods that you could potentially get here in Japan when you're visiting, right?
With free shipping.
So, with free shipping. Like that's big, guys. Shipping in from Japan, depending on where you are in the world, could be upwards of $100 just in itself, depending, you know. So like, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, really good stuff. But yes, yeah, they are too legit to quit, and as long as we keep supporting them, they won't quit. So that's good.
Yeah, exactly. So again, they're going to be a long-term sponsor of ours unless something happens, which I can't see anything happen. But yeah. Go support small family business, and again, you're also supporting the studio as well. Just don't forget to write Forged or Sent by Forged or something in regards to Forged or Fantasy Forged. It could be just our channel name in the memo upon checkout, and then it helps the studio as well. So feel free to do that. But yeah, so that's our sponsor. Isn't that super exciting though? Like it's super cool.
Yeah. How fun is that? Like right here at the 2-year anniversary mark, first sponsor.
I know. I mean, this year just in general, I know we're kind of going on long, but it's kind of crazy. Like last year we announced Fantasy Forge Studios around this time about how we were going to be expanding to a bunch of different personalities. And can we not forget the amount of content we added this week? And it's all thanks to the lore master here, Kyle. So can everyone give him a round of applause? So he will be streaming for us on Mondays and Wednesdays in the morning, 7 a.m. Japan Standard Time. So it's quite literally 7 hours prior to this stream. So I know for a lot of my European friends, it might be a little bit difficult. I know it's late at night, but it reaches a whole new demographic, especially our friends on the Western Hemisphere. Like my normal streams are in the middle of the night for them, unfortunately. So those of you, I got otsukare for staying up for my normal streams. However, Kyle should be able to say sheet that on Mondays and Wednesdays. Currently on Mondays, he's playing some Bravely Default 2, which has been awesome. He started this week and it was super successful, super fun. We've made some new friends along the way, again, streaming to different audiences. Go figure. And also on Wednesdays, which he streamed this morning. So freaking Wednesdays, Kyle, again, Otsukare streaming
it's learning to figure out how to balance time, because again I am also working full-time on Everlast, and so it's a lot, but it's good.
So he streams from 7 a.m. and he's currently playing through Pokemon Scarlet on Wednesday. So he's doing 2 separate games. So Monday's Bravely Default 2, and then Wednesday's Pokemon Scarlet. In the morning he does that, and then in the evening we're doing our Adventures in Middle-earth, which is what you're watching right now. So it's our tabletop RPG, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, Lord of the Rings themed Dungeons and Dragons game, which will be fun. So we got 2 new content added on there, obviously Everlast, but if you actually go to our website, I don't know if anyone has clicked on our website or looked at our website in quite a while. If you go to the About section, down here, there's a big heart Korok face on there. Click that thing, it'll take you right to our website, I promise. It's safe. It's perfectly fine. We made the website ourselves. But we updated all the schedules. Everything should be up to date on there. Take a look at freaking February and how much freaking content we have for you guys this February. It's crazy. Like just by Kyle adding in and adding the extra streams here, like we have something pretty much every day except for Sunday. It's crazy. It's insane, like how much like extra content we've been able to add. So this year, that's kind of what we're moving towards. Is we're moving towards really establishing all this extra content we have. So we have something for everyone every single time of the day. We're really going to be trying to make big steps at our studio. We're also going to be doing our best to try to expand our social media reach. So that includes our Everlast Instagram. So again, if you're interested and curious about Everlast, our branded tabletop RPG, again made by Kyle, we have an Instagram for that. That's linked in the About section as well. We also have our Fantasy Forge TCG, again, short form content that I don't feel like I can make massive full videos of in stream, but it will be up pack by pack, day by day, of wonderful trading card game stuff on that Instagram channel. So if you like trading cards, or if you don't like trading cards but you like Nintendo, you like all that kind of stuff, I'm going to be opening everything under the moon from Pokemon. I'm going to be opening, currently we're doing Fire Emblem Cypher, which is a unique Fire Emblem set that was only came out for like a span of 4 years or so, and it's discontinued, but really cool artworks, really cool set. It's appropriate since we're playing Fire Emblem Engage. We're going to be doing like Magic the Gathering, we'll do some Yu-Gi-Oh, we'll do some like Force of Will, which is a unique anime card game. We're going to be touching everything throughout the channel. So if you like TCG, you like learning new games, and you like your 1 minute pack opening videos, then that's the place to go to. So feel free to give both those Instagrams a follow. And we're gonna be trying to be extending our reach past that just of Twitch. So we got lots of fun, exciting things planned for the future.
And by the way, Noom, now I want to hear Kyle sing Too Legit to Quit. I don't know if that's an actual song, but I can sing it in a different, like not actual song version. Too legit to quit.
To quit.
Too legit to quit.
To quit.
Too legit to... Okay, that's enough.
Oh, gosh.
It is late.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's late for us too. But thank you all for stopping by. Next week we're gonna be continuing on with the new characters. So today you learned about Valineth, my wonderful what is it? High elf character from Rivendell. So next week, do we know who it's gonna be next week?
Yes, it's gonna be Theodric. So we have our local rider of Rohan coming in and figuring out like what he's gonna do and like what his backstory is gonna be. What he's going to experience.
It should be quite different, I'm sure, than my story.
Yeah.
But just kind of like a general like overview and stuff. I think this is a really cool idea, Kyle. Just like getting each character, like getting everyone to know each individual character on a personal basis before you actually start the campaign. So we actually will be starting the campaign together with everyone as characters starting in March. So technically it's the second Wednesday of March.
Because March 1st is on Wednesday. So that's our last final character. But
yeah, so the second Wednesday of March is when we're going to be officially starting everything. But come join us next Wednesday, and then the thereafter Wednesdays to be able to learn a little bit more about each of the characters. And those of you who are in the chat who happen to be one of those characters, feel free to stop by as well. It's not metagaming, I promise. You even if you learn stuff that your character doesn't know about themselves, you can keep that to yourself, right? That's all under your control. Just don't act on it, right? But yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Again, more Fire Emblem tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. And then join us for our anniversary on Friday. And again, that's starting 2 hours earlier and going 2 hours later, which should be really fun. So join us then, guys. Thank you all for stopping by. Kyle, last words as the lore master.
This is Kyle LaFont signing out, and may the road go ever onward and onward.
This is our last goodbye.